This is the Ford Theater, an hour of radio drama presented by the Ford Motor Company, makers of Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln cars, and Ford trucks, tractors, and motor coaches. Today's play, a Ford Theater original, Father, Dear Father.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Howard Lindsay speaking, and wishing you, on behalf of the management, a peaceful New Year. The management, that's a useful generality, meaning all of us here backstage. The management is grateful for your patronage during 1947 and hopeful that you will make a habit of attendance here on Sunday afternoons during 1948. Our resolution for the new year, to provide you with 52 excellent and various reasons for making the Ford Theater a weekly listening habit. We have chosen to wind up 1947 in a burst of innocent merriment entitled Father, Dear Father, by Therese Lewis and Irving Pinkus. Father, Dear Father is the second play written especially for this radio theater during our first season, and we recommend it with confidence not only to the attention of listeners, but also to the consideration of motion picture producers on the lookout for new material. Radio has borrowed from the movies long enough. It's time radio started paying back its debt to the stage and screen. Here we think is a good start. Father, Dear Father. Our scene, New York Harbor in the late spring. And you can narrow that down to the gangplank of the Queen Elizabeth, just docked and rapidly disgorging passengers on their way to customs inspection. The usual reporters are on hand.
There he is. That's him, all right. The guy with the beard and the old world charm.
Well, well, so this is the fabulous Benji Whitehurst.
Ah, it's very flattering indeed that you reporters still take an interest in me. Only, please, gentlemen, don't explode those flashbulbs in my face. A beard, I may point out, is a highly inflammable object.
Mr. Whitehurst, how long is it since you went to live in Europe?
I left the United States late in 1928. That's almost 20 years ago. But now I'm home, and home to stay.
Whatever made you leave here in the first place, sir?
Well, the New York of the 20s wasn't my dish at all. When I had to look through a peephole and whisper, "I'm a friend of Joe's," in order to get a bad martini, I knew it was time to use my passport.
Oh, that was a sad day for every city desk in town. You were always great copy.
Oh, come now.
Haven't seen your wife in some time, have you?
No, I haven't.
Is it true you settled $1.5 million on her in the old days?
The good old days, if I may correct you.
What do you think of your daughter's engagement?
My daughter's Why, I'm delighted. Absolutely delighted. You know how it is with most modern girls. Too many involvements, too few engagements.
May we quote you, sir?
Please do. But tell me, not that I mean to pry, but just whom is my daughter marrying?
Ralph Brewster, Jr. He inherited the Brewster drugstore chain. Their engagement was announced last week at your place in Belden, Connecticut.
The Belden house, eh? Well, glad to hear it's still in the family.
What are your plans for the future, Mr. Whitehurst?
Yes. Where are you going from here?
Where did Enoch Arden go? Home, of course.
Yeah, but when Enoch Arden got home, he found his wife married to some other guy.
True, but as for my wife and me, neither of us have ever sought a divorce. So, gentlemen, my answer still holds. In me you see a man bound for Belden, Connecticut.
I hope you don't mind my asking, sir, but aren't you Mr. Whitehurst?
Yes, I am. Now, how did you know that?
Well, the beard, of course, the Homburg hat.
Oh.
You always wore a Homburg when you went into town from Belden.
From Belden? But you must have been an extremely small boy at the time.
I was. By the way, my name's Drake, Scott Drake. My father used to run the drugstore.
Oh, yes, Drake's Drugs. Is it still the thriving village center?
Oh, far from it. The Brewster drug chain opened up across the street and grabbed off all our business.
This Brewster, I take it, is the same one who's grabbed off my daughter.
Yes. I read Dana was engaged to him.
Oh, you know Dana.
I used to. We were great friends as kids.
Tell me about her.
Oh, she was quite a direct sort of girl, curious about everything, a bit stubborn, very pretty. Hey, wait a minute. I just saw a picture of her here in this magazine. Here you are. Look.
Ah, she's engaged. She's lovely. She uses Charmo. Well, my daughter does me proud. With or without Charmo, that's a very good face. But who is this with her?
That's Ralph Brewster.
He, I'm afraid, looks a little lacking in Charmo.
Well, he must have something.
Yeah, he'll need it.
I wonder if Dana's changed much in all this time. I haven't seen her in years.
Why not?
Oh, after she went away to school, there wasn't any place in her life for a guy like me. Besides, her mother never did approve of our seeing each other.
That's typical.
Well, to a woman like Mrs. Whitehurst, I'm just small town, small potatoes.
So was Liz Whitehurst when I married her, but then she got ideas. She wanted to swim rings around the social bathtub. I've never known such a change. First, she lost her sense of humor. Then she lost me.
Well, according to their story, you had to go away because your health broke down.
Ah, my patience broke down. Oh, the aching dullness of that life. 2 months at Newport, 3 months at Palm Beach, 6 years at the opera. I bought my wife a box, but I didn't want to live in it.
What finally decided you to clear out?
I can recall every detail of that last night. We were in our box, as usual. Liz had come away without her opera glasses. I went home to get them and took a boat for Europe instead. Actually, I haven't seen my wife since the first act of Aida.
More tea, Dana?
No, thanks, Mother.
I'll have another cup, Mrs. Whitehurst. 2 sugars and just a dash of cream.
Oh, now, Ralph, as if I didn't remember.
Well, some people don't. It's very irritating.
New York is calling, Miss Dana, the Charmo Manufacturing Company. Shall I plug the phone in here?
Yes, please, Andrew.
Oh, I was afraid those people would keep pestering us once we posed for their advertisement. Personally, I don't hold with that type of publicity.
Not even when the proceeds go to charity.
Hello? Yes, isn't Miss Whitehurst? Oh, I see. Well, hold the line a moment. Mother, it's about my fee for the endorsement. Don't you think they may as well make the check directly payable to St. Anne's Orphanage?
Oh, but, darling, I did so hope that part of the money might go to my fund for indigent artists.
Oh, I see. Hello? Well, as the money's going to be divided among several charities, I think it'll be simpler to issue the check in my name. Not at all, thank you. Goodbye.
It's getting dark, and I promised to pick up Mother at the country club.
Well, you'd better get cracking.
I think so. I'll bring her straight back. Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye. Andrew, I'm going to keep my promise. As soon as that Charmo check comes, you and Nellie will get most of it for back wages.
Oh, thank you, Miss Dana. I'll tell Nellie the good news at once.
Oh, but, Dana, we need that money for bills, for clothes, for taxes.
No, Mother. Just for my wedding. Once I'm married, there won't be any problem about money. You know, Ralph, we really ought to make some sense about when we want to be married.
Just what I've been thinking, dear. What's your opinion, Mother?
Late August. My mind's made up to it. That's when I was married.
Of course, I always say July's nice, too, Mrs. Brewster.
Have you anything against August, Elizabeth?
Oh, no, I love August.
Please, sir, I must ask you to wait.
Wait! Nonsense! I've waited 20 years.
Who's that?
Sounds familiar.
Liz, my dear.
Benji.
Oh, no.
I can't believe it.
Darling, here are those opera glasses you wanted. I decided to buy them in Paris.
Well, in that case, the shipment was certainly delayed.
And this, I presume, is my loving daughter?
Well, your daughter.
Benji, these are our house guests, Mr. and Mrs. Brewster. I mean, Mrs. Brewster and Mr. Brewster. Mr. Brewster is Mrs. Brewster's son.
Unmistakably. How do you do, Mrs. Brewster, Mr. Brewster?
Ralph, to you, sir, since Dana and I are soon to be wed.
Oh, yes, I just saw a very flattering photo of you.
I must say you look quite fit, Mr. Whitehurst.
And what did you expect, madam? A mere eggshell of a man?
Well, considering your years of ill health...
If this is ill health, I heartily recommend it.
You must have found some miraculous new health spa. Oh, those European waters, what do they have in them?
Mines, dear lady. They are still clearing them out.
Benji, you planned this as a surprise, of course.
Of course. Yes. Oh, Liz, it is good to see you. And you're still wearing the pearls I gave you. They were a peace offering, remember?
Vividly.
Oh, one night when Liz was throwing a big party...
Benji,
let me tell it, dear. I borrowed an Armenian sword swallower from the circus, brought him home, dressed him up, and introduced him as a visiting Maharaja. Things went very well until the distinguished guest began to swallow all the cutlery.
But I thought they could only swallow one knife at a sitting.
Well, these were butter knives. Speaking of sword swallowers, young man, you're quite a point killer yourself.
Now, Benji. Benji, did you cross by boat?
Yes, from Naples. I flew there from Algeria, where I'd been visiting Arkamut Bey, Sultan of Batsi Almiro. Nice fellow, Harry.
A sultan, did you say?
And a magnificent host as well, Mrs. Brewster. You see, in addition to all Harry's servants, he's got 20 women to look after him.
20 women? How immoral.
Why? He's married to them all.
Well, really, sir.
It occurs to me that you and Dana will probably be traveling on your honeymoon. You ought to look up Harry.
Dana and I have planned our honeymoon to combine both business and pleasure. There are 22 Brewster drugstores in 22 cities. We plan to visit each and every one.
Dana, my dear, how nice for you. Always to know there's an aspirin waiting. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'll just go and change for dinner. Come in, come in.
Oh, Benji, how could you?
How could I what, my dear?
Come back like this, without any warning.
But, Liz, this is my home. You're my family.
We were your family.
You mean you're still irritated? After all these years?
You're just as irresponsible as the day you went away. And you'll have to go away again.
Go away?
Yes, you can't stay on here, shocking and antagonizing the Brewsters, upsetting Dana. You shan't spoil her life as you spoil mine. This marriage must go through.
Why? What's so special about Ralph Brewster, Jr.? Jr., indeed. I think he's permanently arrested.
Ralph's a highly dependable young man, and very eligible, too. He's worth a good deal of money.
Money? What's money? I gave you $1.5 million myself.
I'm afraid it's gone, Benji.
Gone?
It's been gone for years.
Liz.
Most of it was lost in the Depression. I've never known about money matters, so I turned over what was left to my brother to invest.
Huh.
It wasn't poor Henry's fault. Times were against him.
I never did trust that brother of yours. It was the way he looked at you. Straight in the eye.
I should have known it was no use trying to talk to you.
Liz, wait a minute. Why didn't you let me know when the money was gone?
I didn't feel I wanted to ask anything of you.
That was a mistake. Because, you see, the Germans got everything I had when they occupied Paris. France and I went broke together.
So that's why you came back.
No, I had a great urge to be with you, Liz. To meet my grown-up daughter.
You waited too long, Benji.
I'm sorry. How have you and Dana managed to get along?
Well, you remember I always played a good game of bridge. My winnings have helped. And we get paid for endorsing various things, recommending hotels, dressmakers, jewelers. This house is only open a few months of each year, and the rest of the time we go wherever we're invited.
Good Lord.
But nobody suspects we've no money. Nobody must ever suspect Benji. Mrs. Brewster, for instance, is terribly leery of fortune hunters. A lot of girls have wanted to marry Ralph for his money.
What else?
You're impossible. Now finish dressing and please go quietly. I'll make your excuses downstairs.
Mother told me to bring you this timetable.
Oh, very gracious.
There's a train to New York in just about an hour.
One moment, young lady. May I ask why on earth you've chosen to marry that portable headache?
May I ask what business it is of yours? Who do you think you are to come barging in here with your 20 questions? When you walked out on us, you forfeited the right to walk back in.
Well, that's telling me.
And as for Ralph, at least when we're married, I can count on him to stick around when the going gets tough. At least my children will grow up with their father in the house. That's the usual procedure, I believe. But when I was a little girl, they used to tell me Daddy'd gone looking for Rip Van Winkle.
I can't recall ever being so heartily disliked at such close range.
Then move out of our range. That's all we ask. And it's certainly no problem for you. You've always taken such pride in being a rebel. Well, go and rebel somewhere else.
You looked like your mother when I fell in love with her. And you talked like your mother when I left her.
Oh, you're impossible.
You're ready, sir. The taxi's at the door.
All right. You carry those bags. I'll take these.
Yes, sir. It's just down this stairway.
I know the house. I built it.
Mrs. Whitehurst is in the drawing room with her guests. and as dinner is just about to be
Say
served...
no more. I didn't expect a royal send-off.
He's got to go straight into town for treatment. He was trying to put up such a brave front this afternoon, but I'm afraid Benji's begun to fail rather badly, and that's always such a sad sight.
Sad sight, am I? Good evening.
Oh, Benji.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear about your condition, Mr. Whitehurst. I hope they'll be able to do something for you.
Come now, good people. There's no need to distress or alarm yourselves. I've just had word of a new prescription. Typically American, I believe, and highly recommended.
Oh, what are you taking?
A powder, madam. I'm taking a powder.
Curtain down, house lights up. Smoking in the outer lobby only. We take leave of Benji, broke and on the beach at Belden, to call on Kenneth Banghart, who speaks in no uncertain terms for the Ford Motor Company. Ken?
A few months ago, a group of experts began one of the most important research jobs ever done in the automobile industry. A firm of life insurance actuaries, men whose business is estimating the life expectancy of men and women for insurance companies, did the job. In the same manner that they determine the life expectancy of human beings, they set out to determine the life expectancy of the 5 largest-selling makes of trucks in America. They wanted to find the facts about how long a truck lasts, how much service it gives. This was the first time such a study had ever been made, and the study was based on facts, not guesses or claims. It involved an analysis of all the trucks of each make, registered each year for an 8-year period, and it covered all models of all ages. In all, the histories of almost 5 million trucks were studied. Out of that study have come some amazing findings. The study proved that one make of truck had a far better record for long life than the average, considerably better than that of the nearest competitor. It proved that one make of truck had a life expectancy of more than 10% greater than the average and almost 20% greater than one of the other leading makes. The truck, which was proved to last up to 19 6/10% longer, was the Ford truck. The study proved that Ford trucks give that much better utility, extra years of usefulness. The histories of 5 million trucks proved that Ford trucks last more than 10% longer than average, that Ford trucks last up to 19 6/10% longer, that Ford trucks are saving their owners up to 19 6/10%. That's the kind of quality and endurance you expect and get from products made by Ford. The second act of Father, Dear Father will be heard after a brief pause for station identification.
Theater, Father, Dear Father, Act 2. At the end of Act 1, you will recall, Benji had just been given a rapid brush by his wife and daughter, who quite definitely prefer life without father, and a hard life at that. We catch up with Benji in a taxicab. Benji is hungry, very hungry. He has confided this urgent inner state to the taxi driver, who has promised to do something about it.
Oh? What's this?
Said you want to eat, didn't you? This is Brewster's Drugstore, best food in town.
At a drugstore? Well, if you say so. Here. Here you are. Keep the change.
Thanks.
Where will I find the vacuum cleaner?
Electrical supply department, 3 aisles over on your right.
Bath towel?
Linen department, 2nd aisle over.
I think I'm in the wrong place. I'm looking for dinner.
Dinner on your right, just past the phonograph department.
Thank you.
I want to take home a case of beer.
Liquor department, rear of the store.
This, I take it, is the dinner department?
Just give me the order, Bud, and I'll take it.
Well, have you any lamb chops?
Only sandwiches, hot or cold, double or triple deckers, minced ham, tuna fish, grilled cheese, chicken.
I'll have chicken, please.
With or without dressing?
Without.
Double or triple decker.
Is there a staggering difference?
Look, chum,
With a double-decker, we take a piece of bread, put some chicken over the top, then another piece of bread, with lettuce covered with another piece of bread. On the triple-decker, we put the white meat over the first piece of bread, the dark meat over the second, the lettuce over the third, with some sliced tomatoes, and...
Another piece of bread.
Check.
Just bring me some sliced chicken with the bread on the side.
But that ain't a double-decker. That ain't even a sandwich. And like I said, we only serve sandwiches. Hot or cold, double or triple. Minced ham, tuna fish, grilled chicken.
I'll have some eggs.
Over white or rye?
Over my dead body. Hello, Scott.
Why, hello, Mr. Whitehurst. How are you?
See here, Scott. I'm trying to find something to eat that doesn't come on bread.
Well, I'd like to help you out, but our fountain boy goes off at 6. Of course, you're perfectly welcome to get behind there and shift for yourself.
Splendid. Oh, that's very decent of you.
There ought to be some eggs and cheese and stuff.
Oh, that will do nicely. I'm a great hand with eggs, my boy. Have you any garlic?
I doubt it, but you better look. I'm a stranger here myself.
You are?
Sure, I just came back today to take over. My mother's been running the place since Father died, but she's due for a rest.
What do you do when you're not here in Belden?
I've been at Columbia Medical School since I came out of the Army.
Oh?
But I've given it up for the time being. Unless I can swing a loan from the bank, we'll be out of business.
And all because of that Brewster Emporium across the street. Tell me, do they ever stoop to filling a prescription?
Well, I suppose if you know the manager, or Ralph Brewster. By the way, have you met him yet? How'd you find things at home?
Oh, fine.
Were they happy to see you?
Happy, my boy. They boarded on hysteria.
And what are you doing with those suitcases?
Oh, well, I've got to see to some business in New York. Most unexpected, but there it is. Now then, I simply dice this olive, stir in the cheese, and in one moment, it's ready for the fire.
Say, you're an expert at this.
Well, I learned in France where they know about such things. Besides, I contend that men make the best chefs in the world. My wife was always a total loss in the kitchen. And as for that arrogant daughter of mine...
But you hardly know Dana.
I've seen friendlier specimens in cages.
Well, maybe you ought to consider her side of this.
See here. Are you in love with that girl?
What's that got to do with anything?
Just that you're a lucky man. Losing her is the best thing that ever happened to you. What sort of a wife will she make? A girl who'd turn her own father out of the house.
Ah, I sort of figured it that way.
Listen. Could that be my train?
Must be. It's the last one tonight.
Oh, well, that just tops a perfect day.
Look here. Why don't you come on home with me?
Oh, no. No, I couldn't impose.
You're not. You can't do anything over the weekend. Come on, I'll take you fishing in the morning.
Fishing, you say?
Sure. Go ahead and cook up your little mess. I'll phone Mother to expect it.
Well, Casey would waltz with the strawberry blonde while the band played on. He waltzed across the floor with the girl he adored.
I'd like a number 4 combo, please, but don't melt it.
Melt what?
Oh, you're new here, aren't you? Well, all right, just give me a hot turkey burger. That's easy. All you do is take 3 slices of bread.
Madam, how can you? In America, apparently, bread is not only the staff of life, it's the flesh, the blood, and the sinews.
The sandwich is an American institution. Where do you come from?
I arrived from Europe only this morning.
Oh, you don't say. Say, what's that you're cooking there? It smells yummy.
It is yummy. This, my good woman, is an omelette fromage à la crème. An Olympian concoction, the very quintessence of perfection.
Well, gee, could I have just a teensy-weensy taste?
I haven't the heart to deprive you.
Oh, well, I never tasted anything so good in my life. Oh, my, this is wonderful.
Madam, when you finished your teensy-weensy taste, may I please have the plate back?
Oh, sorry to be late, Millie.
Oh, sit right down, Blanche.
Oh, I don't know what I feel like eating.
Now, listen, you do as I say, Blanche. Order one of these omelets from Olympia, France. This gentleman's just arrived from there, and he's a real gourmet.
Is that so? Oh, yours looks delicious. All right, I'll have the same. Only put mine between 3 slices of bread.
Scott! Hello there.
Dana! Well, it's really you.
And you. When'd you get home?
Yesterday.
You know, from the back, you look just like you used to, trudging down the road with a fishing rod. Scott, it's been years and years.
As if I didn't know that.
Come on, get in. Where can I take you?
Straight ahead. My car's parked somewhere along this road. I lent it to a guy who came out fishing.
Scott, I read that you were at medical school.
Well, I've had to take time off, though, to come home and see to the store.
But you are going back.
Yes. At the moment, I don't know quite how, but somehow.
You must, Scott. It's what you've always wanted.
I read that you were engaged.
Yes.
As a kid, you were always in such a hurry to grow up. How does it feel to be there, Dana?
All right.
You're going to be happy, aren't you?
Of course, why not? Is that your car pulled off there to the side?
Yeah, that's it. Come on down to the stream for a minute.
No, I'm afraid I can't.
Can't you really? Or was that just a social noise?
All right, Doctor. I'll come quietly.
Well, Pat's still here.
Oh, and look. There's that same old elm.
Mm-hmm, bowing straight from the hips.
Do you remember these woods in the snow?
Of course. I remember walking through them with you.
Mm-hmm. So many times. Our faces frozen almost stiff. The rest of us all bundled and warm.
Only 9 years ago.
Forever ago.
Over here, Scott.
What? Why, that's my father.
I know.
Is that whom you're meeting?
Yes.
Well, I think you might have told me.
Good morning, Dana. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are they biting, Benji?
They only come up to sneer at me.
But what are you doing here? I thought you went into town.
Missed my train.
Your father's staying with me.
With you? Well, that's going to look a little odd to people.
I don't know why it should.
Well, to begin with...
Look, if you two will excuse me, I'm going to try it up there around the bend. They may be biting better.
Well, don't mention my name.
I'll see you later.
I like that boy.
Let's get back to the point. Surely you realize the Brewsters think you're in New York.
What of it? I'm only here for a few days. At the moment, I'm scarcely in a financial position to settle down in New York.
Oh, I didn't realize you were that hard up. Look, I'm expecting a check today, and if part of it would help you, though it couldn't be much...
Oh, no, my dear. But fancy you're even thinking of it.
Well, it's no fun being broke.
On the other hand, it doesn't necessarily interfere with one's having fun.
You think not?
Some of the richest people I know haven't any money.
That must call for a very special formula.
Sit down for a moment, can't you? You know, when you were going on 4, you used to beg me to take you fishing. We often came down here together.
We did?
Your mother, too, the first years we were married. Liz could bait a good hook in those days. They were happy times.
That's why you left her.
I left her, my child, when our life together became a kind of traveling circus. We were always changing clothes to go out with a lot of trained seals. I never intended marrying a mob scene. It was Liz I wanted.
I see. Well, whatever she may have done then, Mother's had a rotten time these past years. Nothing's come easily. All of it's been dig, dig, dig. Now that she's getting older, she's entitled to some security.
There's no such thing. How can we hope to secure ourselves against unhappiness? Or even rheumatism, for that matter?
Well, to Mother, to both of us, I mean, the Brewsters do represent financial security.
Your mother may have changed a good deal, but I can't believe she'd want you to marry someone you don't love.
I haven't said that.
No, you haven't said it.
I'd better be getting on home.
You're really quite a girl, aren't you?
Am I?
That's my impression. It's recent, I grant you, but I'd swear by it.
Well, I'll tell you, you're rather a surprise yourself.
Well, so long, Benji. Get those trout on ice.
Right away. When will you be back at the store?
In a little while.
Girls, that's him just got out of the car.
Oh, here he is. Well,
Oh, good gracious, why aren't you working today?
Working?
We just brought our friends in to lunch, but you weren't there.
And after all our raving about those French-style omelets of yours.
Now, ladies, about last night, I'd better
My
explain
sister
that.
Clara took the bus clear in from Perkins. She's that partial to egg dishes.
The letdown was something awful when you weren't there.
We're just starved for lunch. We haven't eaten since breakfast.
Please, won't you?
As a man of compassion, your hunger leaves me no choice. After you, ladies. Luncheon awaits.
One Brewster special. Singe it.
Okay, miss, what's yours?
I'll have a fine herb omelet a la Francais.
Huh? What kind of sandwich do you want? Hot or cold, double or triple, minced ham, grilled cheese, toasted Brewster burger?
Brewster burger? Oh, no wonder I'm in the wrong store. Drake's is the place to be.
Benji, people are clamoring for those omelets of yours. You're a genius.
Scott, you should have come to my first cooking class today. They call me Professor.
I'd like to feel we were permanently in business, Benji. Half the profits are yours if you'll stay on.
Certainly I'll stay on. We're going to be very happy together, the egg and I.
The plain fact, Mr. Brewster, is that we're losing all our food business to Drake.
But why, Jones?
They've brought in some fancy European chef. Nobody eats sandwiches anymore. Only omelets.
Then hire a man who makes omelets.
I did, Mr. Brewster, but he could only make westerns.
Grave matter, Jones. I'll have to take steps. Why, this thing could mushroom throughout the country. The first thing we know, people will be eating in restaurants.
That will give us a little of both. In Paris, in Rome, in Istanbul, people take their meals at colorful outdoor places. Well, we'll simply set up some tables on the pavement outside. You and I, my boy, will transport the Sidewalk Cafe to Belden. And now, lovely ladies of Belden, having successfully blended our eggs, mushrooms, artichoke hearts, peas, tarragon, and rice, the secrets of... come in. The secrets of Omelette Monte Cristo in all its mysterious goodness have been revealed to you. Are there any questions?
Benji, what are you doing here?
Liz and Mrs. Brewster, oh, 2 new students, how very nice.
Mr. Whitehurst, it's obvious we're intruding.
Oh, not at all. My little course is open to all. $1 an omelet, 40 omelets, $40.
Benji, you, omelets.
Well, you always liked them, my dear, when I made them at home.
I refuse to discuss this matter in public. It's intolerable.
Benji, please, can't we...
Of course we can. Ladies, class is dismissed.
Oh.
We'll meet as usual next week when our subject will be omelette basquez, as prepared with tomatoes and zucchini in the French Basque country.
Oh, I can hardly wait. Now then, Mr. Whitehurst, there's only one thing we need to know. Are you this local cook we've been hearing about?
The word cook has a somewhat feminine connotation. I prefer to think of myself as a chef, a culinary expert.
Are you or are you not employed by a drugstore?
Oh, indeed I am.
Benji.
Isn't it immense, Liz? A whole new career. And at my age, too.
I consider it a profound disgrace, Mr. Whitehurst. Shocking, shameful, and altogether inexcusable. I'll speak with you later, Elizabeth.
I don't know how you can look me in the face.
It's a very appealing face, my dear.
I should have known you wouldn't go to New York. That was too much to expect. You've never thought of anyone but yourself. Your own selfish way of life. That's what always came first. And now Dana must pay the price for having you as her father.
What's Dana got to do with this?
Don't you see that your working in such a menial capacity can only mean that we haven't any money?
But that's right. We haven't.
Oh, if you only knew how we've struggled to keep that from the Brewsters. And now to have the whole thing come out in this most horrible and humiliating way.
Oh, I am sorry you're disturbed.
Disturbed? Our good name is all we have left, and you, the head of the family, you choose to become a cook.
Well, after all, Liz, I'm not a murderer or a thief. I'm not even a Bluebeard.
You're worse, Benji Whitehurst. You've spent the past 25 years torturing one wife.
And I came straight to your office to tell you.
But, Mother, you must be mistaken.
I am never mistaken, Ralph. The man is working as a common cook at that place across the street.
At Drake's? Good Lord, and our manager's been trying to hire him away.
Oh, I shudder to think of the notoriety if this thing becomes public knowledge.
We can't let that happen.
Yes, Mr. Brewster?
Get me my attorney on the wire.
Right away, Mr. Brewster.
Oh, just think of it, my future father-in-law, a short-order man in a drugstore.
Benjamin Whitehurst must go away, far away.
Definitely. It was bad enough to have him cut in on the business, but now he's endangering our family position.
You must bring pressure to bear on Dana.
I intend to.
If her father is given to these appalling adolescent pranks, I don't foresee a very happy future.
Hello, Leonard. About that Drake drugstore matter. You told me this morning you checked all possible violations. Well, recheck them. You've got to find something and find it quick. If I have to hire 10 new attorneys, I'll close that restaurant.
Is Mr. Drake here?
You'll find him in the back room, miss.
Thank you.
Yes?
Scott, may I come in?
Dana. Why, of course. Please do.
Oh, I'm glad I found you. Have you time to talk for a moment?
Sure, we don't get busy till people start coming for dinner.
Scott, well, we've always been such friends. The point is, I've come to ask a favor. It matters to me more than I can say.
Well, sit down. What's got you so upset?
Well, I've only just found out that my father didn't go away. That he's here working for you.
With me.
Oh, you must see, Scott, how horribly embarrassing it is. More than that, it's serious. This little joke of his can miscarry and mess up everything for Mother. For Mother and me, that is. And also the Brewsters. They're very rigid sort of people, and the idea that my father would get himself involved like this...
Like what?
Well, after all, working as a cook...
Oh, I see. So what do you want me to do? Fire Benji?
Oh, if only you would, Scott. That's what I came to ask.
Now, let me get this straight. You know this store is out of the red for the first time in years. You know it's because of Benji. You know I'm fond of him. You know this is the best break I've ever had. And yet, knowing all this, you turn up with your little proposition and expect me to say yes, ma'am.
No, I didn't expect anything. Only I had to ask. It was the only way.
To what? Ralph Brewster? And you're the girl I thought was so special.
About that,
Oh, you know how I felt. That's why you came to plead this noble cause. You thought you could write your own ticket. But I'll tell you something. It seems I've had a change of heart. As of this day and hour, I'm cured. And you did it all yourself.
And it's lucky for you I did come, isn't it?
I don't blame Benji for staying away 20 years. But now he's back and minding his own business. Can't you leave him alone? Or have you turned into such a snob that you're trading your own father for Brewster's millions? You've certainly grown up into an awful letdown. I never would have believed anyone could change so much.
All right, let it go.
Well, greetings. What's the matter, Dana? You look terrible. Did Ralph Brewster take away your aspirin?
Oh, please, don't you start now.
Oh, Dana, I'm sorry. What is it?
It's your fault, all your fault.
Well, what have I done now?
Benji, I had to see you out. Well, Dana.
I'll be all right, Mother. Just let me alone.
Benji, you've been upsetting the child.
No, Mrs. Whitehurst, I have. I'd better clear out.
Well, I must say, Benji, I realize I've been behaving like a fool. I want you to come back home. Come and stay in the house where you belong.
You mean it? You'd really like that?
I would, Benji, for many reasons. And we'll manage somehow.
Of course we will, my dear.
The important thing now is Dana's marriage. And if you're at home, well, we can keep an eye on you.
So, that's it.
Well, it's so ridiculous, this job of yours, that's what made all the trouble. But with Dana married, you won't have to work.
Ralph Brewster will provide an allowance, is that it?
Well, certainly something can be worked out.
Not on your life. I've been doing pretty well on my own, Liz. This is my job, and I'm sticking with it.
If you do, Benji, I've made up my mind to close the house and go to Reno.
What for?
Why, to get a divorce.
A divorce? But, my dear, we've been married 27 years.
And only lived 6 of them together.
Dana, talk to your mother. Help me. We can't let her do this.
Mother, really?
You Benjamin C. Whitehurst?
I am.
You're in charge of that restaurant outside?
I am.
Okay. I got a warrant for your arrest.
My arrest? For what?
Violation of Ordinance 93, aiding and abetting conspiracy against the government of this village.
Act 2 ends on an alarming query. What's subversive about an outdoor omelet? A word about the authors of Benji's Troubles. Therese Lewis, much better known as Terry Lewis, or as Mrs. Hubble Robinson, Jr., is a Cincinnati girl who came to New York to write for the magazines. Did so with considerable success, then moved over to broadcasting and became an executive of one of radio's largest producing organizations. She wrote and edited the Helen Hayes Theater and has been the author of 3 screenplays. Irving Pinkus, Terry's collaborator, is a native New Yorker, an Air Corps veteran, a playwright, and soon to be a Broadway producer with a play in production for spring. Once upon a time, he was my valued assistant in staging a couple of expensive musical comedies, which, fortunately, were as successful as they are easy to forget as the years go by. And that brings us, pleasantly enough, to Kenneth Banghart speaking for the Ford Motor Company.
These are the days when we all start making resolutions and plans for the new year. It's an American custom and a pretty good one. And naturally, the Ford Motor Company has resolutions and plans for the new year, too. But its major resolution is not a new one. It's one that was made almost half a century ago when Henry Ford founded the company. That resolution is that Ford products shall be outstanding for their quality, dependability, and service. That Ford products shall be constantly improved and enjoyed by a constantly increasing number of people. That resolution has been kept since 1904. It will be kept in 1948. And the Ford Motor Company has plans for the new year, too. I can't tell you yet what they are, but those plans are big ones. As the new year opens, there's an atmosphere of excitement and anticipation in the Ford Motor Company. Things are happening in every department, from designing to manufacturing and sales. The Ford Motor Company is working hard and looking forward to the day when everyone who wants to buy a new Ford or Mercury or Lincoln or a new Ford truck will get it. And it's planning for the day when new millions of Americans will insist on a Ford or a Mercury or a Lincoln. As 1947 draws to a close, I'd like to send you a friendly wish and a friendly bit of advice. The wish, a very happy new year. The advice, watch Ford in 48.
Father, dear Father, come home to us now. We left Father in the clutches of the law, charged with abetting conspiracy against the government of Belden, Connecticut. We returned to Belden on the following day in the morning. Scene, the dining room of the Whitehurst residence.
Good morning, Mother. Is there anything about last night in the paper?
Not a word.
But there has to be some explanation. I've never heard such a ludicrous charge. Conspiring against the village government. What's that mean?
We'll find out after breakfast. Oh, poor Benji.
Mother, you look like a blueprint for a nervous breakdown. Didn't you sleep?
Well,
ditto.
Of course, you could phone Scott Drake. He'd know why they're holding Benji.
Yes, I thought of that, but I just can't, Mother. Besides, he wouldn't want to talk to me. Maybe he's got something there.
Morning, Dana, Mrs. Whitehurst. It's turned up a fine sunny day. Andrew?
Could you tone down the volume a little?
Oh, that's right. Mother's still sleeping.
Yes, Mr. Brewster.
Orange juice, Andrew. Cereal, toast, bacon, an omelet, Andrew. This is one morning I can enjoy an omelet.
Very good, sir.
What makes you so rosy today?
Good news. It may interest you to hear that your father spent the night in jail.
We know that, Ralph.
You do? Well, I hope you realize what it means. There'll be no more of Mr. Whitehurst's nonsense, at least not in this village.
But what's Benji done, Ralph? Do you know?
Oh, it's a rather tricky little charge, but my legal experts assure me it'll hold.
Your legal experts?
As a matter of fact, your father's up before the judge this very minute.
Already, but it's only 9 o'clock.
Well, as your justice of the peace hears cases in his grocery store, he gets them out before the rush hour.
Dana, I'm going down there. Do you want to come?
Later. You go ahead.
Yes, I think I'd better.
Ralph, what did you mean about your legal expert?
I'm a man of my word. I told you I'd put an end to that man's nuisance value.
You had my father sent to jail. Why, you little drugstore dictator.
But, Dana, you wanted him out of the way. You said so.
Not in jail. That's going too far. Even I see that, and my ethics certainly leave a lot to be desired.
Now, dear, you've been under a terrific strain, but in a few weeks we'll be married and
No,
then
Ralph. It's no good. You and I are no good as a combination. I don't love you. I don't think I even like you very much.
Well, that's a fine thing to say.
Yes, it is a fine thing to say, because I'm being honest for a change. It's a nice feeling. I can do with it. Let's hope it grows.
No, don't get hysterical. Do you want Mother to hear you?
She'll have to hear it sometime. The fact is, Ralph, you're well out of this. You see, we haven't a cent in the world. I was marrying you for one thing only, your money. But the deal is off. I've decided not to sell.
Benjamin C. Whitehurst, on the 29th day of June at 6:40 o'clock in the evening, did willfully commit the crime of conspiring against the person and property of the state of Connecticut by causing a crowd to gather after sundown in the public square, in violation of Ordinance 93, as drawn up by the village of Belden.
You've heard the charge, Mr. Whitehurst.
Yes, Your Honor. And it's a beauty.
No, I don't want any comment from you people. Hey, get on up front, Joe, and tend to the customers. Mrs. Bayfield's waiting to pick up her broilers.
Okay.
You plead guilty or not guilty, Mr. Whitehurst?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
You're in charge of that sidewalk cafe, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Well, then strikes me you're the offender in this matter, and by rights ought to plead guilty.
Of what, Judge Creel?
Of causing a crowd to assemble after sundown in the public square.
But I didn't cause them to assemble. They came of their own free will.
Because you set out tables for them to eat at.
Is there a law against setting out tables?
Well, there's this old ordinance none of us ever heard of till some city lawyer dug it up. And seems it's been on the books since 1768.
1768?
Yep, dates back to before the Revolution. And so does the punishment they figured out for the offenders. But I tell you, if you act reasonable and plead guilty, like as not, I'd suspend sentence. On condition you stop serving people on the outside.
But where's the harm in that, Your Honor?
Oh, now, don't go taking a big stand, Mr. Whitehurst, or you'll regret it. Better let me read you this Ordinance 93. It says, any assemblage of 15 or more persons foregathering after sundown in the public square shall be judged a conspiratory group, and the instigators thereof punished on the ducking stool in the Barnstable River by no less than 12 submersions. No, none of that. Well, Mr. Whitehurst, you see what I mean? I reckon you're about ready to change your plea.
Not at all. A preposterous law can only be shown up by its preposterous punishment.
Oh, where's your sense, man? Come on now. You're going to look mighty foolish thrashing around in that river.
And your village will look twice as foolish for putting me there. Not guilty, Your Honor.
Well, as I see it, you are guilty. Guilty as charged. And that being so, you're forcing this sentence on yourself. Benjamin Whitehurst, I hereby...
Creel, please. May I have a few words with my husband in private?
Well, you sure can, Miss Whitehurst. Court's adjourned for 10 minutes. Now, did you get those broilers you ordered, Miss Bayfield?
I tell you, Liz, this law is an early American antique. It should have been repealed 150 years ago.
Well, let someone else put it to the test. Why must you be the one?
Because, unless it is repealed, Scott and I will have to close up. We make our profit on the outdoor business.
But to let them do this fantastic thing, ducking in the river.
It's about time I got baptized.
Not at your age. Not 12 times.
Oh, I'll survive. I realize, of course, that it's going to be embarrassing for you,
Oh, but that's not it, Benji. I'm worried about you.
I'd like to believe that, Liz, but as your future son-in-law brought this action against me...
Oh, you don't think Dana and I knew about it. We didn't. Not a thing.
You didn't?
Oh, no. Though I can't blame you for suspecting we might have. Benji, I'm so sorry about the way I've behaved.
Oh, come now. My own record's nothing to be proud of.
Last night, for the first time, I began to see your side of all this.
Liz, my dear.
I didn't sleep a wink.
Well, it must run in the family. Neither did I. You know, Liz, a cut like the one I had ought to make that riverbed a pleasure.
Judge Creel's waiting to get it over with, Benji. Have you made up your mind?
Yes, Scott, I have.
Well, Mr. Whitehurst.
Your Honor, I was in France during the Nazi occupation. In those days, if any group of people dared to get together after curfew, their health took a sudden turn for the worse. And why did things get to that stage? Because too few citizens spoke out until it was too late.
That's right.
The people gathered last evening at Drake's drugstore meant no harm. I see some of them here in the store today. Mr. Patrick, for example. Mr. Patrick wasn't conspiring last night. Mr. Patrick was eating an omelette a la Benji.
Right, that's right.
But suppose he and the others actually had met to protest against some local abuse. An unscrupulous official could have clapped them into jail. By accepting punishment, I have opened your eyes to this law that's a dated museum piece. I hardly think you let it remain on the books much longer. scout. Go home, get my morning coat, my striped trousers, and pick up a bottle of champagne while you're at it. We'll make me the most important launching of the year.
Mother, look at that thing. So that's a ducking stool, sort of like a seesaw.
Oh, dear, it hardly looks safe.
And that river. Brrr. Somehow Father seems a little old for these water games.
Mrs. Whitehurst, I came as fast as I could.
Scott, did you get those petitions to the mayor?
To his secretary. She promised they'd go right into him.
Fine, I'll go tell the others. They've all worked so hard.
Dana, about last night, I shouldn't have laced into you like that.
You meant what you said, didn't you?
Well, yes, I did. But I got a little carried away in saying it.
You were right. Dead right. Here comes Father now.
And the chief of police.
All right, Mr. Whitehurst, this is it.
Well, an ovation. Isn't that nice, Chief?
Oh, there's my wife and the mother-in-law, too, so help.
Quite a turnout. Oh, I see the students of my cooking class are here in the body. Good afternoon, ladies. Hello, Liz. Dana.
Hello, Father. I brought you these blankets. You've got to bundle up in them just as soon as you come out.
And I've got a bottle of brandy, Father.
Splendid, splendid. After that water, I'll need a chaser.
Come on, Mr. Whitehurst. Let's get this crazy stunt done with. I guess we'd all better roll up our pants.
Certainly not. I've been especially pressed for this occasion.
I wish I'd thought to bring my hip boots.
Oh.
Is the river cold?
Oh. Well, I'd never confuse it with the Mediterranean.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's mighty cold water. Mr. Whitehurst, you're a gol-darned old nuisance.
I hate to give you all this trouble, Chief. Couldn't I just scuttle myself?
I sure wish you could.
Go on, get it over with, you brute.
Ready with a rope, Jim. 1, 2, 3, pull. Okay, let her go. That's enough. Pull him up.
None too soon, gentlemen. They're still having winter down there. Anything you'd like me to bring you back this trip? A trout, a pickerel?
Let her go again. Now what? Who do you suppose that is?
Well, look who's here. It's the mayor.
Late as usual.
Please, come now. My friends, your petitions have been received and duly noted. But I'm afraid the law must take its course. Furthermore, I've been advised that Mr. Whitehurst practically begged to be sentenced.
Herbert.
Why, Effie, what are you doing here?
Herbert, what's happening in this river is a disgrace to your administration. Leaving that silly old law in effect. You ought to be ashamed.
Effie won't get my vote again. Effie, we'll discuss this at home. Why aren't you there now? We're having guests for dinner.
There is no dinner. The cook's here, too. And here we stay.
What?
Let me explain, Mr. Mayor. As president of the Ladies' Auxiliary Society of Greater Belden, representing 7 leading civic groups, I tell you that unless this punishment is halted at once, unless this outmoded law is repealed, half the women of Belden will challenge it in the square tonight.
Now, wait a
If it's
minute.
illegal for Mr. Whitehurst to gather a few dozen people in the public square, then be prepared to arrest hundreds of us. Because we're parading there in a body. We'll line up in front of Drake's, waiting for your chief of police, and we'll wait it out till morning. Curfew shall not ring tonight.
Be reasonable, I beg you. After all, I'm no tyrant. This is mass hysteria. Come along, Effie.
Certainly not, Herbert. Not until you do as we say.
Mayor, you get Benjamin out of that water.
Ladies, join ranks. We march on Belden.
Wait, everybody. Chief Larkin,
Yes, Mayor.
take Mr. Whitehurst off that stool. Why, the poor man might catch his death of cold.
Here, Here, Benji, here. Wrap these around you. You must be freezing.
No. Don't fuss.
You've got to have a hot bath and get right into bed. I'll bring your dinner up to you.
Sounds like a wonderful evening. You sure I won't be in the way at your house?
Our house, Benji. And having you in the way is exactly what I want.
Oh, such a simple solution, Liz. And it took us 20 years to find it.
Come on, dear. Here they are.
Benji, the mayor's going to round up the city council. They'll kill that law within the hour.
They will if they want their dinner.
Oh, I must say, you women put on a great show.
The petitions were Dana's idea.
Why, Dana, that makes me very grateful.
Well, it was the least I could do, don't you think?
It means a lot to Scott and me. We're back in business. I guess that fiancé of yours is due for a nasty shock. I suggest you give him this bottle of brandy, preferably over the head.
But I haven't got a fiancé. I fired him this morning.
No, Dana. Would you mind if your father kissed you?
It's been a long time.
Well, I'm glad you two finally got together.
And what about you two? Don't just stand there, Scott. Take her in your arms. Tell her you love her. You've been telling it to me for weeks. Go on now, both of you, before I catch pneumonia.
Dana, I don't suppose you...
Hush, darling, be still. After all, Father knows best.
And so they lived happily ever after. Or until Benji got homesick for Paris. Something tells me Father wasn't built to stay put. Father was played this afternoon by Ed Jerome, well-known Broadway and radio character actor. Mr. Jerome has appeared recently on the New York stage in Deep Are the Roots and Eastward in Eden. His most recent motion picture was The House on 92nd Street. Next week, we begin the new year and a new selection of widely varied plays with an Ellery Queen mystery drama called The Adventure of the Bad Boy. Arsenic is involved, and rabbits. Also, a magician, a fiddler, a deadly Hassenpfeffer, and a sorcerer's apprentice. Plus, of course, the elegant Ellery, his hard-boiled father, Inspector Queen, and Sergeant Veely, who doesn't care for rabbits. The ungrammatical question, who done it? To which, in closing, we all add, Happy New Year.
Father, Dear Father was written especially for the Ford Theater by Therese Lewis and Irving Pinkus. Edited by Howard Teichman with continuity by George Faulkner. The musical score was written and conducted by Lynn Murray. The entire production was under the direction of George Zachery. Also appearing with Mr. Jerome were Bill Adams, Frank Behrens, Margaret Berlin, Alan Hewitt, Elsie Hicks, Fran Rafferty, Joe Latham, Helen Lewis, Charles Mendicks, Daniel Otto, Bert Parks, Gladys Thornton, and Evelyn Varden. The Ford Theater is presented by the Ford Motor Company, makers of Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln cars, and Ford trucks, tractors, and motor coaches.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
This is the Ford Theater, an hour of radio drama presented by the Ford Motor Company, makers of Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln cars, and Ford trucks, farm tractors, and motor coaches. Today's play, George Gershwin's Girl Crazy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Howard Lindsay, extending the management's welcome to the Ford Theater. This week, a very special event, George Gershwin's musical comedy, Girl Crazy. Girl Crazy is Gershwin at the peak of his popular success in 1930, shortly after Rhapsody in Blue, but just before his final creative years in which he turned to operatic and concert composition. The lyrics, of course, are by the composer's brother, Ira, and the story has been adapted for radio by George Zachery, with one major objective in mind: to crowd into the brief hour ahead as much Gershwin music as possible. The Ford Theater presents George Gershwin's Girl Crazy.
My name is Geber Goldfarb, and I've been driving a hack around New York for 15 years, about the time this whole thing starts. You see, I'm stopped for a light on 48th Street in Broadway when a snappy-looking gent hails me and climbs in. "Where to?" I inquire, and he gives me a big wink and says,
"Go west, my man, go west."
Well, I see he's had a couple, but I figure a good-looking guy in a monkey suit has got to be pretty well heeled, so I start out in the general direction of Jersey. 2 days later, I am still driving west, and we're stopping for gas in Kansas City. "Listen," I says, "ain't this getting kind of expensive?"
Think nothing of it, Geber. What's the fare?
$473.85.
Oh, a jip cab, eh?
Now, looky here, mister.
Okay, Geber, don't excite yourself. I'm Danny Churchill, and I'm good for the money.
You mean your old man is?
Same thing. He's paying for this trip.
Where are we bound for?
Dad's ranch in Custerville.
Custerville? Where's that?
Arizona.
Now, listen, playboy.
Look, Geber, haven't you ever wanted to see the great open spaces, the sweeping plains, the sun-kissed peaks of the everlasting hills?
All I want to see is $473. And it looks like I got to drive to Arizona to see it. On the way, Danny tells me his old man, who owns all the diamonds ain't got room for in Tiffany's, has got pretty fed up with Danny's chasing from one girl to another and ordered him out to the family ranch to take a course in bronco busting and all that. Well, when we get to Custerville, which is in the absolute middle of nowhere, I see what the old man has in mind. There's a sign that says, "This lovely little village boasts of the fact that there have been no women within its limits for over 50 years. The one and original woman was shot and killed in a quarrel over her. 30 men were injured in a skirmish." Well, all this must have happened a long time ago because there sure is nothing happening now. Nothing, that is, except some cowboys sitting around singing.
Some fellas love to tiptoe through the tulips. Some fellas go on singing in the rain. Some people keep on painting skies with rainbows. Some fellers keep on swinging down the lane. But I'm biding my time, 'cause that's the kind of guy I'm. While other folks grow dizzy, I keep busy biding my time. Next year, something's bound to happen. This year, I'll just keep on napping and biding my time, 'cause that's the kind of guy I'm. There's no regretting when I'm sitting biding my time.
Well, Geber, what do you think of the place?
It looks very unfriendly. Even the cucumbers got spikes on them.
You'll grow to love it, Geber.
I doubt it. And those tough-looking hombres don't look too friendly neither. I'll feel safer back on 48th Street.
All right, then. Sorry you won't stay. Here's your fare.
Hey, where am I going to cash a check for $785 in the desert? Well, one thing leads to something else, and I'm staying at Buzzard's Ranch with Danny. That sign in Custerville couldn't have been strictly on a level because there was one dame in the neighborhood, and it didn't take Danny no time to find her. Or maybe she found him.
Just what do you do here, miss?
Well, I look after the mails in this section.
Good heavens, all of them?
No, silly. I have charge of the post office.
I've always heard you get acquainted fast out west.
Oh, we do, but...
We always take a little longer in New York because we want to know everything.
Everybody I ever met from New York knew everything.
If a letter comes for me, do you have to deliver it?
Uh-huh.
I'll have everybody in America write to me.
You're not the least bit conceited, are you?
No, just ambitious.
Is New York as wild a place as they say it is?
New York is the most marvelous place in the world, and I'd enjoy showing you around.
Oh, thanks.
What about here?
Oh, I'm busy.
Too busy to go to a dance once in a while or play a game of tennis?
Say, you must think Buzzards is one of these dude ranches.
A dude ranch? You've given me a great idea. That's just what it's going to be. Girls, cocktails, dancing, roughhouse. My dad thought he was sending me away from the bright lights. Well, I'll just bring the bright lights out here and turn them all on.
Count me out.
Don't you ever have a good time out here?
Oh, sure we do. You ought to have been at my last candy pull.
Candy pull? Oh, lady, what I'm going to do for you.
Have some pity on an Easterner. Show a little sympathy. No one possibly could be sterner than you have been with me. There's a job that I'm applying for. Let me put it to you thus. It's a partnership I'm dying for, Mr. and Mrs. Us. Before you file it on the shelf, let me tell you of myself. Oh, I'm the chappie to make you happy. I tie your shoesies and chase your bluesies. Oh, lady, would you? Oh, tell me, could you use me? I'd shake the mat out and put the cat out. I'd clean the garret and feed the parrot. Oh, lady, would you? Oh, tell me, could you use me? Do you realize what a good man you're getting in me? I'm no elk or mason or woodman who gets home at 3. The girls who see me grow soft and dreamy, but I'm a gander who won't philander. Oh, could you use me? 'Cause I certainly could use you.
There's a chap I know in Mexico who's as strong as he can be, eating nails and drinking Texaco. He is the type for me. There is one in California, more romantic far than you. When he sings ha-cha-cha-chonia, I often think he'll do. But as for you, sir, I'm afraid you will never make the grade. For you're no cowboy, you're soft and hard boy. I feel no muscle fit for tussle. I must refuse you. I cannot use you. Excuse me. No nightlife for you. The birds would bore you. The cows won't know you. A horse would throw you. You silly man, you, to ask me, can you use me? Oh, I'd love you maybe a wizard. I'm wanting to know. Could you keep me warm in a blizzard? Say 40 below. Your thighs are freakish, your knees look weakish. Go back to the flappers and highball lappers so you can use me. I most certainly can't use you.
In case you're wondering, this dame's name is Molly Gray, and she's as cute a doll as I ever see, with a Texas high-heel boots, leather skirt, and big 7.5-gallon hat. Before you know it, Danny's given her such a play that it's a good thing not many special delivery letters comes to Custerville, on account they'd get delivered the day after tomorrow. Meantime... Excuse me. What happened? Another one? Yeah, like I thought, they just shot another sheriff. This seems to be the main pastime in Custerville. Personally, I suspect the character named Cactus Jake, a very rough-type hombre who wants to be sheriff himself. Well, one day, just after another sheriff has been disqualified, this Jake tries to put the finger on me.
There he is, boy! Where's the the fellow that put the sheriff tie his hands up?
You can't tie my hands.
Oh, we can't, huh? Why not?
He's got a point. While I'm trying to think of the answer, Jake starts slipping a noose over my head.
Come on, fellas. We can hang him to that there beam.
Nah, take that rope off. You want to dirty my collar?
Okay, Jake, I got it over the beam.
Well, don't hang me on that one. It don't look safe. I might fall and hurt myself.
Come on, boys. String him up.
No, wait a minute. There's something I want to say. It's just one word. If I can only think of it, give me a chance to think. Stop. That's it. That's the word. Thank you, boss. Well, Danny saved my life that time. But he really had more important things to do. He'd been advertising the Buzzard as a dude ranch. And pretty soon, Easterners start flocking out like dialects in Allen's Alley. One of them is an old flame of Danny's, a showgirl called Kate Fothergill, who had that old look before it became the new one. She takes to the West like she was born under a cactus bush, and tells us all about it.
In town we used to fret away until we made our getaway out here where there's no doubt that men are men. We're men.
We're men.
Are men.
Are men.
We don't care if we don't go east again.
Don't care if we don't go east again.
It's wonderful to breeze around. They seem to have real trees around, and of the open spaces there's no doubt. No doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt.
That is the life that Riley told about.
The life that Riley told about.
Before we're at the ranch another week, we'll get the well-known roses in the cheeks. We haven't missed old Broadway or the white lights. When the moon is night light, that's the best of bright lights. This is the place to tarry at. The chaps who throw the lariat can fling a line that does a girl no good.
No good.
Not wood.
Not wood.
Not wood.
Not wood.
They fling a line that does a girl no good.
We're Bronco busters. We bust the Broncos. We never fear man or beast. In Western saddles, we fight our battles. We're manly to say the least. Like the Rangers, we fear no dangers. We are never far. We're Bronco busters. We bust the Broncos or else we bust.
They're Bronco busters. They bust the Broncos. They never fear man or beast. They pack a wallop. They never dollop. Their pants have never been creased.
If you trifle, we aim a rifle. Bang, you bite the dust. Oh, this is Sunburg. We'll sing our Romberg until we bust.
Well, it don't take Kate long to figure out that Danny is very willing to let bygones be has-beens. Things is really beginning to simmer between him and Molly Gray, though there is certain symptoms that east is east and west is still, well, west.
Poor, quiet little Custerville. But you aren't doing to it, Danny.
Have you seen our new gay 90s barroom?
No, I haven't.
Come on, Molly, I'll show it to you.
Well, not now. I'm going home.
Oh, you can't go yet. I haven't had a chance to talk to you.
You forget how early I have to get up in the morning.
Oh, can't you oversleep tomorrow and get up at 5?
That makes the day too short.
If you get up at the time I go to bed, how are we going to see each other?
Oh, must we?
You bet we must. I've got a lot of things I want to say to you about our future.
Oh, I see. Our future.
Don't you like me, Molly?
Oh, sure I do.
How much?
Enough to make me want to be careful.
Careful of me?
No, of me.
I'm crazy about you, Molly.
I wonder how many girls you've told that to.
Well, here's something I've never said before. Will you marry me?
Oh, don't be silly.
Oh, come on. Just this once.
Dozens of girls would storm up. I had to lock my door. Somehow I couldn't warm up to one before. What was it that controlled me? What kept my love life lean? My intuition told me you'd come on the scene. Lady, listen to the rhythm of my heartbeat and you'll get just what I mean. Embrace me, my sweet embraceable you. Embrace me, you irreplaceable you. Just one look at you, my heart grew tipsy in me. You and you alone bring out the gypsy in me. I love all the many charms about you. Above all, I want my arms about you. Don't be a naughty baby. Come to Papa, do. My sweet embraceable you.
I went about reciting, here's one who never falls, but I'm afraid the writing is on the wall. My nose it used to turn up when you besiege my heart. Now I completely burn up when you're slow to start. I'm afraid you'll have to take the consequences. You've upset the apple cart. Embrace me, my sweet embraceable. Embrace me, you irreplaceable you. In your arms I find love so delectable, dear. I'm afraid it isn't quite respectable, dear. But hang it, come on, let's glorify love. Ding dang it, you'll shout on chorus I love. Don't be a naughty papa. Come to baby, come to baby boo. My sweet
Excuse me. I seem to be interrupting a very tender interlude.
Sam Mason.
Hello, Danny. Surprised to see me?
Yes, and not very pleased.
Danny.
I heard that your father had sent you out here to reform you, so I came to find out for myself.
Well, I think Danny is beginning to see that the West has got something attractive about it.
Well, how could he help that with you here?
I've even managed to get him to ride horseback.
You like riding?
I love it.
May I ride with you sometime?
You'd have to get up very early. I'm in charge of the post office here, and I make my rounds before most people like you are out of bed.
Like me? I'm out of bed before breakfast every morning.
Well, then you're invited.
Thanks. Danny, this was a swell idea of yours, this Dude Ranch.
Yes, wasn't it?
I suppose you have accommodations for me.
Sorry, we're filled up.
No room?
No room for you.
Why, Danny, that isn't true Western hospitality.
Certainly not.
You can't stay here, Sam. That's final.
Oh, perhaps we can find room for you at our house. Come along, Mr. Mason.
What?
Say, I'd like that better.
I'll see what I can do about it.
Molly, you can't. You don't know what he's like.
Boss! Hey, boss!
What is it now, Geber?
They just shot another sheriff.
Into the Custerville Eden, then, enter a character who may just possibly turn out to be a snake in the sagebrush. We'll see about that in Act 2. Meanwhile, I suggest that we devote our best attention to an on-the-level hombre named Banghart, Kenneth. He speaks for the Ford Motor Company.
It was 40 years ago that the young Ford Motor Company introduced the automobile that was to become one of the most famous and beloved cars in history, the Model T. Back in those days, Americans began writing letters to the Ford Motor Company to praise the performance of their Fords. And the letters have continued through the days of the Model T and the Model A and the V8 and the 6, right down to the present time, except that they've been increasing in volume as more and more people have become acquainted with Fords. The letters come today in every mail. One of the recent letters was from Dr. J.A. Raub of Monroe, Wisconsin. On November 12, 1942, I took delivery of a Ford 6, Dr. Raub wrote, and the satisfaction that this car gave me prompts me to express my appreciation to the Ford Motor Company. At the time, I held a ration certificate, which would have entitled me to buy any make of car, and at that time, most makes were available. However, there was no doubt in my mind. Ford's reputation for dependability made it imperative for me to choose the Ford. My confidence in Ford was repaid by 150,000 miles of trouble-free driving throughout the war years. I never expect to own any other car but a Ford. That's a letter from one Ford owner, but it's typical of countless letters the Ford Motor Company has received, typical of the satisfaction felt by owners of Ford products, typical of the performance Ford products give. You can depend on Ford. The second act of George Gershwin's Girl Crazy will be heard after a brief pause for station identification.
The Ford Theater, Girl Crazy, continuing the adventures of Molly and Danny in the wide open spaces. Our first act ended, you will recall, with the sudden and fatal collapse of the Custerville sheriff and the arrival on the scene of trouble. Trouble in the person of Sam Mason.
But, Danny, what have you got against Sam Mason anyhow? He seems like a fella knows his way around.
That's just it, Geber. Around Molly. He's just making a play for her to get even with me because I took a girl away from him back in New York.
Aha.
Now, with all these weighty matters on my mind, I'd like you to take over the problem of law and order in Custerville. What do you know about politics?
Enough to keep out of him.
We want you to run for sheriff. The last one just quit.
Quit cold, you mean? Nothing doing. The job ain't got no security.
You could hold it till your dying day. And if you're elected, you'll get a big silver star on your chest.
Or a lily. Danny, I don't look my best by candlelight.
But, Geber, there's no danger. We're all behind you. Aren't we, fellas?
Wait! Come on, Geber, you got to run.
Well, just don't get too far behind. They needed a man who was brave and strong to rid the town of crime.
Go far.
That's I.
They needed a man who would not take graft unless it was over a dime.
Go far.
That's I. Don't talk a General Custer, don't talk a Buffalo Bill. Goldfarb gives a bigger thrill. They needed a man who knows the game through serving a lot of time.
Goldfarb.
That's I'm.
So vote for Geber Goldfarb, he's all right. So vote for Geber Goldfarb, man of might. They needed a man who knows the game through serving a lot of time. Goldfarb.
That's I'm. So, I'm running for sheriff. But what Danny don't tell me is that the guy I'm running against is Cactus Jake. Maybe that's just to keep me from running away. Anyhow, Danny got his own troubles, what with Sam Mason giving Molly the biggest rush since 49. But I figure Danny's still got the edge because Molly's all the time trying to make a Westerner out of him.
But, Danny, if you'd only try to understand the West, instead of doing everything you can to make it more like the East.
It isn't that I don't like it, Molly. It's just that, well, I can't sleep out here.
Why?
It's too quiet.
Too quiet?
Yes, back East is different.
How?
Well, for instance, in New York, we're rocked to sleep by the Manhattan Lullaby.
Oh, what's that?
It's played on ash cans about 3 a.m. every morning.
Sounds terrible.
It is. Then there's the taxicab symphony. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, the milk wagon serenade. Do you know, Molly, milk has kept more people awake than coffee. I'm just crazy about the East.
And I'm in love with the West.
Well, let's compromise and live in Chicago.
Do you really like me, Danny?
I think you're adorable.
Then why don't you try to like the things I like? Once you know the beauty of Arizona, you become a part of it.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh, Danny, you're hopeless. It's strange. I've waited so long for the right man to come along, and now that you've come, you're not what I dreamed of at all. There's a somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that he turns out to be someone who'll watch over me. I'm a little lamb who's lost in the wood. I know I could be awfully good to one who'll watch over me. Although he may not be the man some girls think of as handsome, to my heart he carries the key. Won't you tell him, please, to put on some speed? Follow my lead. Oh, how I need someone to watch over
Well, the election campaign for sheriff is really beginning to rock, Custerville. And Danny, as my campaign manager, has some fancy notions about getting out the votes. He's imported a hot band from Chicago and arranged for Kate to do some electioneering and swing. Personally, I can't figure why Kate's anxious to get me elected sheriff, on account of she's taken quite a fancy to me, preferring my more cultivated Eastern-type accent to the brogue which them cowhands use. She's not the best-looking showgirl to come off Broadway, but she sure has a flock of personality and something else besides.
Days can be sunny with never a sigh. Don't need what money can buy. Birds in the trees sing their day full of song. Why shouldn't we sing along? I'm chipper all the day, happy with my lot. How do I get that way? Look at what I got. I got rhythm, I got music, I got my man who could ask for anything more. I got daisies in green pastures, I got my man who could ask for anything more. Home and trouble, money can buy. Birds in the trees sing their day full of song. Why shouldn't we sing along? I'm chipper all the day, happy with my lot. How do I get that way? Look at what I got. That way, look at what I got. I got rhythm, I got music, I got my man who could ask for anything more. I got daisies in green pastures, I got my man who could ask for anything more. Home and trouble, I don't mind him, you won't find him round my door. I got starlight, I got sweet dreams, I got my man who could ask for anything more, who could ask for anything more.
I got rhythm, I got music, I got my man who could ask for anything more. I got daisies in green pastures, I got my man who could ask for anything more. Home and trouble, I don't mind him, you won't find him round my door. I got starlight, I got sweet dreams, I got my man who could ask for more. Who could ask for anything more?
Home and trouble, I don't mind him, you won't find him hanging around the front or back door.
Starlight, I got sweet dreams, I got my man
Who wants more?
who wants for anything more.
And now, I give you the next sheriff of Costaville, Geber Goldfarb.
Beaver! Folks, if I am elected, I will make the best little sheriff you've ever had. I want you to know that I am for the people. I never stole a dollar from anyone in my life. All I'm asking is that you give me a chance. To be elected, I mean. You don't want a cheap crook like Cactus Jake. He ain't the man for the job. Would he get out of a warm bed in the middle of the night and come to your protection? I asked you, would he? On the other hand, would I? No! There you are. I hate to talk about a man behind his back, if you can hear me. But Jake won't meet me face to face, not if I can help it. I've been looking for that guy. He ain't fit company for pigs. When I see him, I'll just say,
You're what?
hello, Jake.
So you've been looking for me, eh?
What makes you think so?
You try to poison them folks against me, would you? We kill out here for less than that.
Everything's cheaper out here.
You know who killed the other two sheriffs?
No, but I got a darn good idea.
You're right, neighbor. I did it.
And if you're elected, I suppose you'll commit suicide.
No, but if you're elected, I'm going to kill you. Now, look here, Geber. I'm going to give you one more chance to put me square with them folks.
Okay. Folks, this is my last chance. There's been a lot of talk going around this part of the country about what a rotten snake in the grass Cactus Jake is.
That's right, Geber.
You folks ought to be ashamed of yourselves. As somebody so wisely put it, Cactus Jake ain't fit company for pigs. They're wrong. He is.
That's Geber. All right, Geber. You asked for it.
Look out, Geber, he's got a gun.
Look out. He's got a gun.
Grab it, Geber, grab it.
Give me that thing.
Let go, my six-shooter. Let go.
Now, I got the gun.
Pull the trigger, Geber, pull the trigger.
No, don't shoot. Don't shoot. I'll give you $50 for that gun.
How can you kill a man when he's talking business? I win the election, and for a while Jake lays low, which gives me plenty to worry about. But Danny's got his own troubles. Sam Mason keeps trying to turn Molly against him. Then, to make it worse, Sam breaks the bank at the ranch's gambling tables.
Danny's pretty angry with me for winning that $6,000, Molly. He doesn't like my taking anything from him.
Well, why do you and Danny dislike each other so?
Same old story. Girl trouble.
Oh, but Sam, it's so silly to hold a grudge over something that's past and done with.
Who told you it was past?
I don't understand. Surely you don't mean it's some girl out here.
No girl means anything to me, Molly, except you.
See what I mean? Well, Danny's seeing less and less of Molly, and he's losing interest in the ranch. And finally he takes to sitting around with the cowboys doing nothing. Well, practically nothing.
Some fellas love to tell it to the daisies. Some stroll beneath a honeysuckle vine. Some fellas, when they've climbed the highest mountain, still keep a crying for the Caroline. But I'm biding my time, 'cause that's the kind of guy I'm. While butterflies go flitting, I keep sitting, biding my time. Give me a glass that's full of tinkle. Let me dream like Rip Van Winkle. He bided his time, and like that Winkle guy, I'm chasing wayflies, how the day flies, biding, setting and biding, no regretting, setting and biding my time. Setting here and biding my time.
Molly.
What happened to you this morning? I thought you were going riding with me.
Well, I didn't get away from the gambling tables until 5. Then I lay down for an hour and never woke up until 12.
It'd be hard to be a playboy and a cowboy at the same time.
Well, I'll bet you'll be there tomorrow morning.
Sorry, but I won't.
Why? Where are you going?
To the races at San Luis in Mexico.
With Sam?
Yes.
I won't let you. Molly, you just don't understand the kind of man he is.
He's an Easterner, just as you are, Danny, but he appreciates what we have out here.
I'll bet he does. Well, you can't go with him.
Oh, really? Well, just you try and stop me.
I'm not afraid of that pop gun.
Oh, you better be. I can shoot mighty straight. See that bottle over there on the bar?
Mm-hmm.
Watch the neck.
Put up that gun.
Keep your distance, playboy.
Hey, what's going on here?
Just a little warning.
What's the rope for, Daddy?
Oh, that's to tie me up with, Sam.
Turn Bronco Buster, Daddy.
Being a Bronco Buster, he busts the Bronco, he seems to be unafraid. And now this gay man, this big and brave man, is out to capture a maid.
Stop it! Listen, Molly, I'm trying to keep you from going on this trip with Sam Mason because I know he isn't on the level with you.
Who says I'm not?
I do. You're only going around with Molly to get even with me for taking a girl away from you in New York.
Ready, Molly?
Don't go, Molly. You don't know what you mean to me.
I need you, my sweet embraceable you. I need you, you irreplaceable you. If you should ever leave me, really I don't know what I would do. My sweet embraceable you.
Is it true that you brought Kate out here and that you used to be
She
her...
came out, yes. But that's all over.
Tell that to the Marines.
Where's your car, Sam?
You're not going with them.
Let go of me. This rough stuff doesn't suit you, playboy. Stand back. Remember, I can shoot straight.
Stand!
All right, go with him. Go on. I don't care what you do now. You enjoy making a fool of a man, just like the rest of them. Go ahead.
Take it easy, Danny.
Kate's right, Danny. It don't do no good to lose your temper.
It's always that way with passion. So, playboy, learn to behave, or else you're liable to cash in with no tombstone on your grave.
End of Act Two. I think I can assure you that all is not yet over between Molly and Danny. There's a law known as Schubert's principle of the delayed finale, which states that boy must be parted from girl at a certain point in every musical show. This makes for more music, more fun, and still more music. And believe me, the music and the fun are what count. Before the scene shifts to Mexico, we'll hear from Kenneth Banghart, a solid caballero speaking for the Ford Motor Company.
This week, in the showrooms of Ford dealers all over America, you can see the first new post-war products of the Ford Motor Company, the 1948 models of the famous Ford trucks. And these new Ford trucks are new all through, really new. They have new engines, new frames, new brakes, new cabs, new comfort, and new models that are bigger than Ford ever built before. There are 3 new engines in Ford 48 trucks, all newly designed. A 95-horsepower 6-cylinder engine and 2 V8s, 100 and 145 horsepower. The frames are newly designed for greater strength. The cabs are planned for living room comfort. And there are larger trucks, the biggest Fords ever built, nearly half again as large as any previous Ford trucks. All in all, there are 139 models of the new 48 Ford trucks, a Ford for every job. And these new Fords are bonus built. According to Webster, bonus is something given in addition to what is usual or strictly due. According to Ford, bonus built is a truck designed and built with extra strength in every vital part. That means that 48 Ford trucks have a greater range of use, that they're not limited to one specific job. And this extra strength also means that Ford trucks do their jobs with less strain and wear. They work easier. 48 Ford trucks are planned and built stronger to last longer. By a study of the life histories of the 5 largest-selling makes of trucks in America, life insurance experts have already proved that Ford trucks last longer, up to 19 6/10% longer. That's the record of past years. But now the new 48 Ford trucks are designed to be even better. They are bonus built. And whether or not you buy or operate trucks, you will be served better because the organization which has built more trucks than any other, Ford, builds bonus-built trucks. Watch for the 48 Ford trucks. See them now at the showroom of your friendly Ford dealer.
So Molly went off to the races at San Luis in Mexico with Sam Mason, who is up to no good. Danny and Kate have followed in Gieber's hard-working taxi, which is up to anything. As we rejoin the mob, Gieber has found Molly. She is not altogether contented with her recent anti-Danny actions.
Ah, come on now, Molly, cheer up.
I can't help it. I found out I'm in love, and it's too late.
That's never too late.
Oh, it's no use, Gieber. You can afford to be cheerful. You have Kate.
Kate? She's not in love with me. Why, who could love a face like this, I ask you?
And then we're both in the same boat, I suppose.
What? You got a face like this? That's better. Come on, Molly, turn on that sunshine.
Old man sunshine, listen you. Never tell me dreams come true. Just try it, and I'll start a riot. Beatrice Fairfax, don't you dare ever tell me he will care. I'm certain it's the final curtain. I never want to hear from any cheerful not for me. With love to lead the way, I found more clouds of gray than any Russian play could guarantee. I was a fool to fall and get that way. Hi-ho, alas, and also lack a day. Although I can't dismiss the memory of his kiss, I guess he's not for
goes off to the races with Sam Mason, who she is beginning to feel sorry she ever met up with. Pretty soon, Kate and Danny come along, and he wants me to drive them around to the gambling joints.
Mexico's wide open, Geber.
It ought to be, Danny. They've been shooting it up long enough. I don't feel comfortable here. I wish I was back in Custerville facing Cactus Jake.
Jake's down here.
Down here? Quit your kidding, Kate.
I'm not kidding. I saw him myself. I thought you wanted to meet him.
Well, not here. I can't arrest him here. It's out of my jurisdiction.
Oh, you needn't be afraid of him, Geber.
Well, I ain't afraid exactly. It's just that I'm wanted for murder.
Murder? Who've you killed?
Nobody. Jake wants to kill me. Come on, Danny, let's get going.
Some sheriff. Some hero I picked for myself. Oh, why do I do these things? His brains are minus, never a thought inside. And yet his highness lectures me day and night. And here I anchor, I might have had a banker. Boy, what love has done to me. His nature's funny, quarrelsome half the time. And as for money, he hasn't got a dime. And here's the joker, I might have had a broker. Boy, what love has done to me. When a guy looks my way, does he get emphatic? Say he gets dramatic. I just wanna fly away. But if I left him, I'd be all at sea. Where will I wind up? I don't know where I'm at. I make my mind up, but how can I leave him flat? For I have grown so, I love the no-good song so. Boy, what love has done to me. Oh, Molly, I'm glad you're back. I've been trying to get a word with you, alone.
Well, if it's about you and Danny.
It is, Molly, and you've got it all wrong. Sure, Danny gave me a play for a while, but that was before he came out here. He hasn't given me a tumble since he met you. Honest.
Well,
It's Sam Mason who's been giving you the runaround, Molly. Why, he's got a wife in New York and a girlfriend for every cactus in Arizona.
well, if that's true.
Of course it is. And Danny was telling the truth when he said Sam only came out here to get even with him.
Of all the low-down ornery tricks. Just wait till I see that.
What's happened?
We find some Mason outside with his head boss. I'd go call the police.
Good heavens. I hope it wasn't Danny. Here he comes now. You can ask him.
Someone knocked Sam out. He's in bad shape.
Oh, then it wasn't you who...
Struck him from behind and robbed him? Certainly not.
Of course, he was carrying that $6,000. So that's what Cactus Jake came down here for.
Danny, I'm sorry I misunderstood about you and Kate.
Then you didn't really fall for Sam?
Danny, Molly, don't stand around here talking. You better get out of town and move fast. The police are after you, Danny.
Me?
Yeah. They heard you had it in for Sam. I tell you, it ain't healthy around here. You better take Molly and get in Sam's car and head back to the ranch.
But what about Sam? We can't leave him like this.
I'll take care of him. Go along with him, Kate.
And what about Cactus Jake?
I'll take care of him, too.
Oh, no, I'm staying. This I gotta see.
Hi there, Molly. Glad to see you back.
Oh, but it's good to be back in Arizona, boys. Look at those mountains over there, Danny. Aren't they beautiful?
But, Molly, those mountains are in California.
Well, what difference does it make? I love them all. New Mexico, I love you. California, I love you too. Wyoming, I love you. Oklahoma, I love you too. But of all the states in the West, dear, for us there's one that's the best. When it's cactus time in Arizona, I'll be waiting there for you. I will serenade you with Ramona beneath sunny skies of blue. What a thrill, my darling, when we own a little rancho built for two. When it's cactus time in Arizona, I'll be waiting there for you.
When it's cactus time in Arizona, I'll be waiting there for you. I will serenade you with Ramona beneath the sunny skies of blue.
What a thrill, my darling, when we own a little rancho built for two. When it's cactus time in Arizona, I'll be waiting there.
I'll be waiting there.
Celebrating there.
Celebrating there. When it's cactus time in Arizona.
Geber's back.
Well, what happened, Kate?
Geber's captured Jake and he's confessed.
Yeah, I had a tough fight, but I won.
Oh, Geber, I'm so proud of you.
I don't blame you. I'm proud of myself. You should have heard the reception I got at the courthouse. I'm still hoarse from all the cheering.
Tell us how you captured Jake, Geber.
Well, I figured he'd make for the border, so I hung around, and sure enough, he hailed me. How could he know I got the only cab in Arizona? And then we had some fight. I gave him the face punch, and then the third punch.
You mean the second punch?
No, the second I got.
Where's Jake now?
In jail. I had a little trouble getting out myself. Hacking without an Arizona license.
Hey, look at Molly. Where'd you get them Eastern clothes, Molly?
Gee, Molly, you look beautiful.
Are these the sort of clothes that smart New York girls are buying?
Smart New York girls don't buy their own clothes.
Molly, from now on, I'm really Western. Look what I've learned to do. I can spin a gun on one finger.
Oh, wonderful.
And I've burned up all my Eastern clothes.
What? Just after I bought these?
Oh, you look swell. I was just getting ready to let you show me those mountain peaks at dawn.
I'd rather you'd show me the Empire State Building.
All right. But there's something I want to ask you first.
What?
Will you marry me and be mine for the rest of your life?
Well...
Excuse me, Molly, but you'd better marry him. Our time is almost up.
All right, Mr. Lindsay, I will.
Embrace me, my sweet embrace, will you?
Embrace me, my irreplaceable.
Don't be a naughty baby. Under Papa, do. My sweet embrace.
And that was George Gershwin in 1930. We were fortunate in having as our principal singers today 3 of radio's brightest young stars. Monica Lewis, who appeared as Molly, Larry Douglas as Danny, and Marilyn Day as Kate. Deborah Goldfarb was played by Ted DeCorsia, long and outstanding character actor, soon to be seen in the motion picture The Naked City. Next week, Arsenic and Old Lace. Together with a man named Krause, I produced Arsenic and Old Lace on the New York stage back in 1941. Mr. Krause and I had fun with that play. Plenty of worries, too, but mostly fun. The fun has been transferred in its entirety to our Ford Theater version, which deals, like the original, with 13 murders, 2 very sweet old ladies, and a fiend. We have prevailed upon our original pair of sweet old ladies to join us. The kindly Spencers will be played by Josephine Hull and Jean Adair.
Girl Crazy was adapted for radio by George Zachery from the book by Guy Bolton and Jack McGowan and lyrics by Ira Gershwin. The music was adapted and conducted by Lynn Murray. The continuity was by George Faulkner. Our editor is Howard Teichman, and the entire production was under the direction of George Zachery. The other players in Girl Crazy were Walter Vaughn, Lauren Gilbert, and Jeffrey Bryant. The Ford Theater is presented by the Ford Motor Company, makers of Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln cars, and Ford trucks, farm tractors, and motor coaches.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
This is the Ford Theater, an hour of radio drama presented by the Ford Motor Company, makers of Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln cars, and Ford trucks, tractors, and motor coaches. Today's play, Storm in a Teacup.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Howard Lindsay speaking on behalf of the management of the Ford Theater. The people who make a business of counting radio audiences, or trying to count them, tell us that ours is growing very nicely each Sunday. And so, for the benefit of several 100,000 newcomers who have dropped in on us today, perhaps I should repeat this salient fact about our program. Our plays from week to week are drawn from all the possible sources of dramatic material for radio. From the stage and the screen, from literature old and new, and from original work done especially for our use. Today's play, Storm in a Teacup, is a comedy. It began life in pre-Hitler Germany under the title Sturm in Wasserglas. Then an English playwright, James Bridie, changed the setting to Scotland, and the new play, called Storm over Patsy, enjoyed successful runs in London and New York. Next, a fine English movie version was made. Upon the picture, Storm in a Teacup, our radio adaptation is based with a setting in these United States. And that brings us down to date on Storm in a Teacup. Time, the present. Place, an American town we'll call Plainsfield. Plainsfield has a population of some 10,000 souls, more or less. More if you consult the local citizenry. Less if you look it up in the last census. Whatever the exact figure, Plainsfield is big enough to support a flourishing weekly newspaper, the Herald. And it is the Herald office and press room we are visiting now, in company with a young man who seems to be looking for the editor.
Your name Burton?
That's right.
My name's Charlie Logan.
Glad to know you, Charlie.
You going to be working on the paper?
I applied for a job on the staff.
It ain't much of a staff, even for a weekly paper.
How many are you?
Well, counting you and me and Mr. Irving, the owner, 3.
Charlie, that Mr. Burton out there?
Yeah.
Well, send him in.
Go on in.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Burton. This place is a madhouse today. 1,000 things to do, and I'm supposed to make 6 o'clock train to Washington.
Well, you've got exactly 18 minutes.
I've checked the references on the New York papers you gave me. It looks like you're the kind of reporter I can use.
And this is the kind of paper I've always wanted to work for. There's something about a small weekly newspaper.
The Plainfield Herald may be small by a big city standards, Burton, but it has a position of great trust among the people of this state.
Well, that's why I came to you for a job. I'm a little tired of working for big newspapers.
Good. Now, to begin with, I want you to do an article on the mayor of Plainsfield, William Gow. Feature story stuff. Give him a nice build-up.
Why?
What do you mean, why? He's the mayor of Plainsfield and our next governor.
Oh, it's in the bag, huh?
I think so. He's got Scary backing him.
Who's Scary?
You better check up on the political layout around here, Burton. George Scary is the man people mean when they talk about candidates being picked in smoke-filled rooms.
Sounds like quite a boy. I must get to know him.
You will, but first get to know Mayor Gow. I promised we'd give him a big spread in our next edition.
Okay. Gow for governor. I'll get right over to his office and have a talk with him.
No. Tell you what, he's presiding over a city council meeting at Town Hall tonight. Sit in on that. Then you'll get the personal interview tomorrow morning. Don't forget, make the story nice and friendly.
William Gow. That's not a pretty name, but leave it to me. I'll make our mayor positively lovable.
No, Harris, these campaign posters won't do it all. Pictures make me look too stern. I want a picture that make me look,
lovable?
Well, I'd hardly say that's the exact word, but I would like to look human.
Yeah. We'll take some new pictures first chance I get. How about the rest of the posters?
That's good. William Gow, loyalty and service to the people. Devoted loyalty, perhaps? No, that's redundant. Let it go the way it is, but do something about that picture. Tell the printer, whoever it is, to put a little more hair on my head. Retouch it a bit.
Yeah. How about a pompadour?
Don't be flippant. Let's take a look at the billboards. I hope that you...
Hello, Father.
Vicky, my dear.
Hi.
Harris, I don't believe you know my daughter. Victoria, this is Tom Harris, my campaign manager.
How do you do?
Glad to know you.
Victoria's been in England for the past year, Harris, working with the various European relief organizations. You don't know how I've been looking forward to having my little girl back home again.
I can imagine.
Well, that'll be all for now, Harris. I'll see you at the council meeting tonight.
Okay. Nice to know you, Miss Gow.
Goodbye, Mr. Harris. Talking of meetings, you might have met me at the station.
Well, I'm sorry about that, Vicky, but it was absolutely impossible. I've been so busy lately. You know I'm running for governor.
I know. I saw a few posters.
But you don't know why I'm running. You see, Vicky, these are exceptional times. They require exceptional measures and exceptional men.
Here.
Being mayor of Plainsfield is all very well in its way. I have done what I can for the place. Tried to make it up to date. I have built them a new town hall, an amusement park, the only one in the county.
You have been busy.
They said in the Plainsfield Herald I'm the best civic administrator in the state.
I'm sure you're a great success.
Well, thank you, Vicky. I don't mind telling you that my chances for election are very good. George Scary is coming for dinner tomorrow night.
That should be dull.
Well, he's an important man, Vicky. And you'll note that he comes to see me. I don't go to see him.
This may mean big things for you, Father.
There's no saying how big it may be. If I become governor, a time may come when I may be... Scary told me that I might possibly find myself running...
Mr. Gow, Your Honor, excuse me for breaking in this way, but I've got to see you.
Who are you? What do you want here?
Honoria Hegarty is my name, Mr. Mayor, Your Honor. The same who lives down at the corner of Fleet Street and River Place, over the butcher shop. If I seem to be out of breath, it's because I ran every foot of the way.
Get out of here this instant. Who let you in?
What's the trouble, Mrs. Hegarty?
It's me Patsy, me darling Patsy, and him as innocent as a newborn angel.
What's he done, Mrs. Hegarty? Has he been arrested?
Arrested, is it? The police have got him in the jailhouse, and they've probably beaten him half to death. Him that hasn't got a vicious bone in his body. Oh, Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, 'tis you that has the power to tell him to give Patsy back to me.
Get out of this house before I have you arrested. How dare you walk into my home and make a scene like this? Now get out.
But, Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, listen to me.
Out now.
Oh, it's a massacre, that's what it is. It's thieving. That's a poor widow woman, no rights at all. Mr. Mayor, please.
And don't you ever dare annoy me this way again. As mayor of the city of Plainsfield, I hereby call to order this special meeting of the city council. Secretary will read the order of business on the agenda.
Item 1. The matter of new equipment for the street cleaning department.
We'll table that till next meeting. Go on.
But, Mr. Mayor...
I said we'll table it. Next item.
Appropriation for repairs to the roof of the firehouse.
Mayor, I personally investigated the extensive damage to the roof, and I think...
That's your trouble, Mr. Hodges. You think too much. Appropriation denied. Next item on the agenda.
Excuse me, miss. May I put my overcoat on the seat next to you?
Oh, of course.
Thank you. I have to take notes up here in the gallery, and an overcoat draped across my knees makes it a little difficult.
One moment, Mr. Warren.
I'm sorry.
Place the name of George Wilson in nomination.
Mr. Mayor, it's out of order for anyone but the council members themselves to nominate...
All in favor, George Wilson?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. You can't nominate...
Will you
a
be
candidate...
seated, Mr. Ward? I have suggested George Wilson.
That Mayor Gow is a little dictator, isn't he?
Please be quiet. I'm trying to listen.
Sorry.
An application from Sam Ross, night watchman at the City Hall, for a raise of $2 a week.
What grounds?
Same grounds as last year. His wife has had a pair of twins.
Not again. Application denied. We grant the application. We're only asking for a fourth set of twins.
May I ask what you're doing at a city council meeting?
I'm interested in my city government.
It looks like Mayor Gow runs this city single-handed.
Will you please be quiet?
Sorry.
Vote, Mr. Mayor.
We'll table the matter, Mr. Ward. Now, gentlemen, we'll take up my plan for building a new wing on the Plainsfield Civic Auditorium. You've been given copies of the memorandum I drew up, and I'm sure you'll agree that the Gow Auditorium, as I like to think of it, can
The
be...
nerve of him. Builds it and names it after himself. I'm beginning to hate that man.
More urgent building projects that we...
Of course, you gentlemen may not consider it appropriate to call it the Gow Auditorium. Do I hear any other suggestions?
They wouldn't dare.
None. Well, in that case, let's examine these sketches that I've made here. Now, the entrance...
Hey, I had my coat. While lovable Mr. Gow talks about the entrance, I'll make an exit.
Good morning, Dad. I didn't think I'd find you up so early.
Oh, good morning, Vicky. I'm up early every morning these days. Any more coffee in that pot?
Mm-hmm. Here you are.
Oh, thank you. That council meeting last night lasted until after midnight. This morning I've got to see a reporter from the Herald. I'm speaking at the Women's Club at noon. I tell you, Vicky, politics is hard work.
Only until you're elected.
Vicky, that's when my real work will begin. But I'll be happy to sacrifice my personal comfort for the good of the people. A man in public life cannot know the pleasure of leisure, of relaxation.
Yes, I know, Daddy. It's only 9 o'clock now. Your speech isn't scheduled until noon.
Vicky, I don't think you appreciate the responsibility that I...
Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, I've got to see you.
Mrs. Haggerty, are you back again? I thought that front door was locked.
I came round the back way. Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, if you don't help me, Patsy, I'll kill myself by suicide. That I will.
Mrs. Haggerty, of course my father will help Patsy, but what is it? What did he do?
He did nothing at all. He's an angel, him with his curly hair and blue eyes. But if he goes, I go too. Up to the heavens above with the blessed saints. And it'll all be your fault, Mayor Gow.
Mrs. Haggerty, I warn you, if you don't get out of here this instant...
Now, just a minute, Father. Mrs. Haggerty, calm yourself. Perhaps if we went down to police headquarters to see Patsy...
They won't let me in to see him. Oh. Only 4 years old he is, and they've got him locked up in the cellar like a criminal.
Only 4 years old, and he's been arrested? Oh, perhaps if we talk to him...
Sure, if we talk to him, he'll bark at you.
Bark at us?
Mrs. Haggerty, the case of your dog is closed once and for all.
Dog? You told me it was about your son.
No, I ask you, did I ever tell you anything of the kind? Not but what he's like a son to me. And now they're going to kill him in the gas chamber.
Oh, kill a little dog, nonsense.
Pay the fine. They'll give Patsy back to you.
Pay the fine, he says. Where's the likes of me going to get $25? Me barely scraping a living together at me newspaper stand. Ah, Mr.
Now,
Mayor, Your
Father,
Honor,
surely you can give Mrs. Haggerty a little leeway. Call police headquarters.
Victoria, please go upstairs. Let me handle this woman.
But, Father...
Vicky, won't you go upstairs?
Very well. Don't worry, Mrs. Haggerty. My father will do something for you.
It's a darling day you are, and may you find a kind and handsome husband.
Now, then, do you know what I'm going to do, Mrs. Haggerty?
What, Your Honor?
I threw you out once before, and I'm going to do it again.
How do you do, Mr. Gow? My name is Burton. Mr. Irving asked me to do an article on you.
Yes, I know. Sit down. Get your notebook out.
Well, Mr. Gow,
Will you stop jumping around like a French poodle? Sit down. Stagnation in public life.
I beg your pardon?
I'm dictating. Take it down.
Well, don't I take notes and then write it up?
Write it up?
Put it into English.
Don't be impertinent. And kindly put down exactly what I say. Are you ready?
During Mayor Gow's term of office in Plainsfield, he has scrupulously maintained the principle that all people, great and small, are equal.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say something?
No, not a thing. Go on.
William Gow is concerned with the well-being of every individual in the community. To William Gow, great and small alike, can bring their problems, confident that he will do all in his power to assist them. It is his firm belief that...
Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, about me, Patsy.
Mrs. Haggerty, are you insane? How many times must I throw you out of here before you stay out?
You, mister. Won't you try to persuade His Honor to have mercy on Patsy?
Patsy?
Me little dog, bless his innocent heart. You wouldn't want your dog to be put in the gas chamber now, would you?
Well, of course not. But why...
Now, this woman has failed to pay her dog's license fee, refuses to pay her fine.
It ain't that I won't pay. I can't. I haven't the money.
The court passed sentence, and rightly. This town is full of dirty little mongrels. You must make an example.
How much does she owe, Mr. Mayor?
$2 license fee, $25 fine.
Can't they make an exception?
No, I won't permit it.
Oh, it's a heart of stone the man has.
Well, suppose I pay it for her. $27, you say?
You'll do nothing of the sort. Either she pays, she loses her dog. Now, get out, Mrs. Haggerty, out of
Wait,
here.
Mr. Mayor, wait. I've gone and borrowed $8. Now, will you take that much now, and I'll pay off the rest in about...
Don't try to make any bargains with me. Now, out. Come on.
But where am
Now,
I going to
over.
get the money? I'd pay $1,000 for me little Patsy if I only...
And I'm not fooling, Mrs. Haggerty. The next time you break in here, you'll wind up in a jail cell. Yeah. It's the only thing some people understand is jail. Did you ever hear such wailing and screaming just because of a dog?
Some people are very fond of their dogs.
Personally, I despise dogs. Oh, well, that's off the record, you understand. A statement like that wouldn't look very good in print, would it?
Not from a would-be governor.
No, of course not. Well, let's get back to the article for the Herald. Where was I?
Well, let's see. You were saying the great and the small can bring their problems to William Gow, and he will do all in his power to assist them.
Oh, yes. And it can be truthfully said that no man has ever been more anxious to lend a helping hand, to give aid and comfort when needed, to show by word and deed that he is truly a friend of all the people in time of need. Yes, William Gow's love for his fellow man is exceeded on...
There you are, Charlie. A feature story on Mayor Gow.
Okay.
Well, don't stand there reading it. Start setting it up in type. We go to press in 20 minutes.
Yeah, Mr. Burton, you only started working here yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, why?
You ain't going to be working here tomorrow.
Why not?
Oh, on account of this. You really want the Herald to print this story on Mayor Gow?
I didn't write it just to practice typing.
Now, look. Mr. Irving owns this paper, and he's a very good friend of the mayor's.
I see what you mean.
I'm only a printer, Mr. Burton, but I think you're cutting your throat by writing this.
Not Mr. Gow's throat?
His, too. But don't you care about yours?
Charlie, a long time ago, some bright fellow said that truth is a two-edged weapon. Sometimes it kills the man who uses it and the man he uses it on.
So?
So set up this copy in a manner befitting our great mayor. A front-page spread for lovable Willie Gow.
You're going.
Why don't you watch the light? You almost ran me over. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Remember me? I sat next to you at City Council meeting last night.
I remember.
Well, now that you've almost run me over, the least you can do is give me a lift to where I'm going.
Well, all right, hop in.
Lucky you've got good brakes. I guess I was jaywalking.
Oh, no, it was my fault.
Oh, it was my fault, I insist. Next time it can be your fault. Well, what's that building over there?
The Civic Auditorium.
Oh, yes, the one Mayor Gow built. Wonder why he's so proud of it. It's a monstrosity.
I think it's lovely.
And that little mass of bricks shaped like a mushroom is the library, I take it?
That's what it says in great big letters over the door.
The William Gow Public Library. He's a modest fellow, isn't he?
Well, he gave the money to build it.
He probably had more than enough left over from the profits of the Civic Auditorium job.
You don't think much of Mayor Gow, do you?
I think, briefly, that he's a louse.
Now, just a moment.
Oh, now I know he's the man you probably voted for, but we all make mistakes. Fact is, the man is a disgrace to this very nice little town.
Well, you're new here, but you know exactly what's going on, don't you? You haven't been influenced by any chance by that article in the Herald this morning.
A little. I wrote it myself.
Personally, I think that... Did you write that vicious, disgusting trash?
With my own two little typing fingers.
Oh. Get out of this car.
Now, wait a second. What are you getting so burned up about? I wrote the article about Gow, not you.
May I introduce myself? I'm Victoria Gow, Mayor Gow's daughter.
You're his... You're... Oh, you're kidding. I mean, of all the people in this town...
Are you going to get out of my car, or shall I yell for help?
No. Just wait and listen. I'm not backtracking on a word of that interview. I really meant it when I said your father is a hypocrite and a political hack.
What?
But you've got to understand why I wrote what I did.
You slandered him. You know that, don't you? What harm has he ever done to you?
To me? No harm. It's hard to explain.
No decent action is ever hard to explain.
Perhaps not.
You don't mean to say that idiotic business about the dog.
You think it was idiotic?
It's so small.
Oppression is never small.
No, but this doesn't make sense. You lose your job, you'll never get another one. And all because you got sentimental about a silly old woman and her mongrel dog.
Well, wouldn't you have?
I did. Why did you do it? What sort of a man are you, anyhow?
Did you ever know a decent sort of man who could tell you straight off what sort of a decent man he was?
I've never known a man who did the mischief you've done for no reason at all.
Look here, if you really want to know, I'll tell you something I've never... No, wouldn't do any good. Goodbye. I guess I'd better take the bus after all.
Oh, wait. Tell me.
Well, when I was a kid, I lived at the foot of a steep hill. Wagons used to go up the hill with heavy loads. Sometimes the horses couldn't take the load, and then the drivers hit them. On their flanks, their bellies, their eyes, and nostrils. One day I couldn't stand it. I was scared out of my shoes, but I went for one of the drivers. He just put the flat of his hand against my face and sent me spinning into the gutter. I was only a little kid. So I said to myself, when you grow up, you'll hit out. Every time, no matter what it costs.
And you've done that?
Yes. Well, here comes a bus.
No. Let me drive you. I don't know where you're going, but I'm going that way, too.
We await with some pleasure the return of Mayor Gow to Plainsfield, where a storm is brewing and things are ready to break wide open in Act 2. In the meantime, a familiar figure emerges from the wings. This is Kenneth Banghart, who speaks for the Ford Motor Company.
In the 44 years since the first Ford cars began rolling over the roads, millions and millions of Americans have learned from their own experience that Ford cars mean dependability and economy. Millions have come to expect remarkable performance as a matter of course when they own a car made by Ford. However, quite often, Ford owners take the trouble to write the Ford Motor Company about the way their cars have served them. Recently, Mr. J.R. Kuntz of Nashville, Tennessee, took time off from his electrical repair business to write about his experience. I started using Ford in Model T days, he wrote, and they get better each year. My present car is my 24th Ford and the best I've ever owned. I've driven this car 40,000 miles, and outside of gas, oil, and lubrication, I've not spent one nickel on it. I average 20 miles to the gallon on trips and 18 miles to the gallon on city driving. I never add oil between changes. And Mr. Kuntz concluded, my Fords have always served me dependably and economically. I'm looking forward to the delivery of my new Ford, which will be my 25th. That's typical of the letters the Ford Motor Company has been receiving for 3 generations now. Typical of the way owners of Ford products feel about their cars. Typical of the performance Ford products give. You can depend on Ford. Act 2 of Storm in a Teacup will be heard after a brief pause for station identification.
The Ford Theater, Storm in a Teacup, Act 2. Scene, the very small apartment of Mrs. Honoria Hegarty, the same who lives down at the corner of Fleet Street and River Place over the butcher's shop. Mrs. Hegarty is alternately sipping a cup of strong tea and murmuring strong words against the heartless men who have stolen her Patsy away. For Patsy, unlucky dog, is still in jeopardy. A visitor arrives.
Come in. Me place is a mess, but come in anyway. Well, now, Mrs. O'Connell. And what brings you here this hour of the morning?
'Tis the excitement all over town. That's what, Mrs. Hegarty. You're famous.
Whatever are you talking about?
Here, look at this week's Herald. Read yourself.
Here, let me... Well, now, the saints be praised. If that isn't my own name all over the page in letters the size of a great whale itself that swims in the wide ocean.
Will you listen to this now?
Let's hear.
'Tis high time our local bumbles learn to administer the law with decency. And what's a bumble, will you tell me?
What do you know? And listen to this, Mrs. O'Connell. It was beneath the mayor's dignity to set her mind at rest. It wasn't beneath his dignity to kick her out of doors.
This dull bully loves to make a grand parade of his principles. They're not good enough for us, and neither is he.
Come back later. I'm busy. Oh, no. I mean, come in. Oh, it's so excited I am. I don't know what I'm saying. Come in.
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Hegarty.
Oh, Officer McKinney. Mrs. O'Connell, this is a brave policeman who took Patsy away from me unarmed and single-handed.
Oh, now, Mrs. Hegarty, I was only following orders.
Well, you sure started something, I'll tell you that, Mr. McKinney. You've seen the paper, no doubt.
I certainly have. Did you go to the newspaper office to tell your story?
Of course not, you numbskull. Can't you read? This reporter fellow was in the house when I came to see Mayor Gow. May the devil look him straight in the eye. The mayor, that is, not the reporter.
Well, there's a fellow who'll be looking for a job soon. The reporter, that is, not the mayor. Nobody in this town criticizes Gow and gets away with it.
Well, now, if that's all the news you've come to bring me, there's the door, McKinney. Take yourself and your uniform right out of here.
Oh, no, wait, Mrs. Hegarty. I just came by to give you some information. Unofficially, of course.
What's that?
If Patsy's license fee and the fine aren't paid within 48 hours, they're going to...
McKinney, are you telling me that they're going... Oh, no, they couldn't do that to me, Patsy, me baby, me love.
Well, that's the law, Mrs. Hegarty. I thought I ought to warn you.
Where's me shawl? Oh, Mrs. O'Connell, you're sitting on it. Get up, woman.
Oh, now, Mrs. Hegarty, calm yourself. Where are you running off?
Out of my way. I've got to see Mayor Gow again. He's got to give me a little more time. I'll plead with him. I'll
you can't see him, Mrs. Hegarty. He's out of town. He won't be back until time for his political meeting tonight. And he'll be too busy to talk to you then.
I know what I'll do. I'll go see that reporter fella, the one who wrote the article. He'll think of something. He's educated. He'll help a poor widow woman. Oh, Patsy, me darling, don't despair. Your mother will save you, no matter what.
Harris, this rally was supposed to get started at 9 o'clock. The hall is jammed, but where's Gow?
Oh, sit down and keep quiet, Irving. He'll get here.
I just called the station. His train came in 10 minutes ago. He ought to be here any minute.
I suppose he hasn't seen this week's Herald?
No, don't you mention it to him before his speech. The second he gets here, hustle him onto the platform and let him start talking.
He's going to find out about that article you ran, Mr. Irving.
I didn't run it, Miss Gow. I was out of town, and I gave the assignment to Burton, the new reporter I hired. Oh, will I take care of him first chance I get. I'll fire him so fast and so far he'll never be able... Hello, everybody. Vicky, Harris. Hello, Irving. Great night, eh?
There's a tremendous crowd in the hall, Father.
Come on, Mr. Mayor. We can't keep him waiting any longer. We can get to the stage through this side door. Too big a mob out there.
You got your speech all set?
Of course. I didn't like the opening the way you wrote it, Harris, so I rewrote most of it.
Naturally.
Did you hear that? Hear them? So they're calling for their Willie, eh? Well, they shall have their Willie. Who's going to introduce me tonight? I will. Come on, the crowd's getting restless. I'll give you a very brief introduction. Yes, well, not too brief, but, well, you know. I'll come out just as soon as you mention my name. Okay.
Good luck, Father.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know you have been waiting patiently to hear tonight's principal speaker. He needs very little introduction from me. After all, you all know him. So I will only say that there is no one who has done more for Plainsfield than Mayor Gow. And tonight I want you to show him what you really think of him in your hearts. As Robert Burns so wisely said, "Oh, what some power the gift to give us to see ourselves as others see us." Yes. Now, you can give your mayor the power to see himself as you see him tonight. I give you Willie Gow. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I may call you my friends. I'm sure I may call you my friends.
What's the matter with them, Irving? Keep talking.
We live, my friends, in exceptional times, and such times require exceptional measures. Ah, my friends! What is needed today is a firm hand at the helm. A man who will go on and up and up. On and up and up, keeping always before him the best interests of the whole community.
Oh, where can he be? With his tail cut short and his ears cut long. Oh, where can he be?
Order! Order! Mr. Irving, what's the meaning of this?
I haven't any idea, Mr. Gow.
I'm getting out of here. There's something very strange about this, and I intend to find out what it is.
Father, will you please stop pacing up and down that way?
You keep out of this, Vicky. Mr. Irving, I told you to have Burton here in your office at 10 o'clock. It is now 10:15.
He'll be here. I sent Charlie Logan to get him. Now, Mr. Gow, you understand I had nothing to do with the article. I was out of town.
You told me that 20 times. Where's Burton?
If you'd done the right thing, Father, you'd have paid that woman's fine yourself. It's all so trivial.
Trivial? Look at this. Look at this on the front page of the New York Bulletin.
Oh, well, this is awful. Political candidate barked down at town hall rally.
They think that's funny.
What's going to happen tonight at your dinner for George Scary?
Oh, Scary. I forgot about him. Where is Burton? I'll break that fella.
You'd better be careful, Father. I don't think you know Mr. Burton.
Are you defending him, Victoria? Before I'm through with him, he's going
Good morning, gentlemen. Oh, I didn't expect to see you here, Miss Gow.
I'm on the welcoming committee.
Mr. Burton, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'd advise you to stick to the truth.
Is this the headquarters of the Gestapo?
You'll find out where you are soon enough. Burton, how much did they pay you?
What are you talking about?
You needn't act so innocent. We know who's backing you, Burton.
What exactly was it worth to you?
Go on, man, speak. The opposition paid you to get that muck into the Herald.
And you were in back of that riot at town hall, too?
The plot unmasked, eh?
So you don't deny it?
I wouldn't spoil your fun.
It'll be no fun for you. You're going to sweat for this.
Look here, I came here of my own free will because I thought I'd help you out of your mess, though heaven knows why I should. But after your childish insinuations...
Wait a second. You see this? This is withdrawal of the statements in your article. I'll read it to you. I, the undersigned...
You needn't bother.
Of course not. It's quite an order. Just sign here at the bottom.
Are you serious?
What do you mean?
No.
What do you mean, no?
You mean you refuse?
That's what I'm trying to convey.
But why not?
Because every word of what I wrote is true.
Burton, do you know what this lets you in for?
No, and I don't care.
You can consider yourself fired.
I considered myself that yesterday, Mr. Irving.
You won't find another job. We'll see to that.
I'm sure you will.
You realize this means an action for
slander.
Slander?
And not only civil action, but criminal proceeding.
And 10 years in jail and 20 lashes 3 times a day. I don't care. Mr. Gow, I'll tell you this. You're not a bad fellow at heart, but you've got to remember one thing. The people of this country are the most patient on God's earth. They'll put up with humbug, hypocrisy, shilly-shallying, and hardship. They'll pull in their belts if they think it's their duty. They'll go to the 4 corners of the earth and be blown to bits if need be. But 2 things they will not stand. Bullying and cruelty. And if you've forgotten that, I'll make it my business to remind you. Hello, Miss Gow.
You haven't answered my question. May I come in?
If you want to.
You're, packing your clothes, I see.
You're very observant.
Where are you going?
Where people usually go after they've messed things up. Away.
What are you going to do?
Look for another job, I suppose.
If you can get one. What are you going to live on in the meanwhile? Have you any money at all?
Nope. Cigarette?
No, thanks. You may need them. Frank.
What did you say?
Well, don't get excited. I want to ask you something.
Yeah, but you called me Frank.
Well,
that's my name.
So I thought.
It's the first time you've spoken my first name.
What about it?
It's the first time you've called me Frank.
Frank, listen. I want to...
Oh, well, here he is, gentlemen. Imagine, we looked all over town for him and never once thought of looking where he was sure to be right at home.
How are you, Burton? I'm Joe Phillips, Charter Chronicle, and this is William, Universal Press.
Hiya. Reporters, bless them. Oh, the way they've been writing down every word I've been saying, and me picture and everything. And now they want to talk to you, Mr. Burton.
Mrs. Haggerty, I've done what I can to help you. Now let's forget the whole thing.
Huh? Forget it. Say, are you out of your mind? This is the sweetest little human interest story we've had in 10 years.
We're going to plaster your name all over the country. A modern David fighting a political Goliath.
Go away.
Oh, and this is Her Honor the Mayor's daughter, gentlemen, Victoria Gow.
Hello. Hey, there's even a romantic angle. Whose side are you on, Miss Gow? Your father's or your boyfriend's?
Frank, this is ridiculous. Can't you...
Look, boys, give me a break. Lay off until tonight. Maybe I'll have a real story for you.
You mean after the dinner Gow is giving George Scary?
Yes, come back here at midnight. I'll give you the whole story then, okay?
Right. See you later. So long, Miss Gow.
Come on, Mrs. Haggerty. So long, Burton.
Come over to my house, gentlemen. I have a photograph of me beautiful Patsy that I'd like you to print in the paper. It was taken on his birthday.
Frank, why did you ask them to come back here after the dinner party?
I didn't want to talk to them now.
Oh, I was hoping you'd tell them that your attack on my father was all a mistake.
You know I'm right. You said so.
I never said you were right. I said your motives were. Frank, you've made your protest, and it was a fine thing to do.
Well, thanks.
After all, it's something in these days for anyone to risk his career for fair play, but there's no point in going on now. That's pig-headedness. It's as old as the pigs.
Did you come here to make a speech?
Frank, be generous.
What?
You gave Father a pretty hard blow. You've made him look foolish. The worst thing you could do to him. Why not call it a day?
But what about Patsy?
Well, put it this way. If he behaves decently to Mrs. Haggerty, you'll sign the statement withdrawing the article.
Supposing he won't.
He will.
He may break his word.
Then we'll both tell the world what we think of him.
Both? Then you're in this with me.
Yes.
Oh, it's a deal, Vicky.
All right, talk fast, Mr. Burton. I have some very important guests inside. We're about to have dinner.
I would have come at another time, Mr. Gow, but this is urgent. It's about Mrs. Haggerty.
What about Mrs. Haggerty?
Well, if you'll make amends to her for the way you've acted about Patsy, I'll sign a withdrawal of the article I wrote.
Apologize to Mrs. Haggerty? Are you crazy? Me apologize to that crow after the trouble she's caused me?
Well, all you have to do is admit that you acted hastily, give her an extension of time to pay the fine, and it's all over.
You have your nerve. I made a decision regarding that woman and her flea-bitten hound. It's going to stand.
Mr. Gow, I want you to be fair.
Fair? You're not giving orders to me, young man. You've lost your job in the paper. Now get out of my house before I have you kicked out.
Good night, Mr. Gow. Your political career, if I may say so, is rapidly going to the dogs.
Going to the dogs? What does he mean by that? Oh, he's put me in a fine mood to entertain Scary.
Father, who was that?
Oh, it was nobody important. There's a fellow asking for a charity donation. Have another drink, Mr. Scary?
Don't mind if I do. To your health, Miss Gow.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Scary.
Now you sit here, Mr. Scary. This chair is more comfortable.
Yeah, thank you. Now, about your adoption as official candidate.
I thought it was all settled.
I had hoped it was. But tell me, what's all this about a dog?
I don't understand.
I've heard things. It would be awkward if
you mean. Oh, that. It was just a storm in a teacup. A woman refused to pay her dog license, and some young kids made a sort of joke of it. Exuberance of youth, you know.
I see. It wasn't an organized thing?
Oh, no.
The papers made out there was a riot.
A riot? Wait, it wasn't a riot, was it, Harris?
Oh, no, just fun and games.
I understand you're very highly respected in this neighborhood, Mr. Gow.
Well, there's nobody more respected than the mayor. His word, so to speak, is law.
Popular, too?
Extremely popular.
Well, you know, popularity's a tender plant. The tactless handling of a situation might be the end of us.
I assure you, Mr. Scary, the whole childish affair is finished and done with, and I...
Well, if you... I say, if you really think... What's going on out there?
It's our neighbor's dogs. Vicky, close the window.
All right. Father, the lawn is full of dogs. Look how they're jumping into the room.
Close the window.
Oh.
Good heavens, the hall is full of dogs, too.
Somebody left the door open.
Get down. Get away from me, you beast.
Where did all these dogs come
Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Mr. Scary, I'm terribly sorry.
Now, Mr. Scurry, don't move, or that Airedale will go for you.
Exuberance of youth, eh? Respected, eh? Popular, eh? Call my car.
But, Mr. Scary, Harris, get these animals out of here.
You need a dog trainer, not a campaign manager.
Mr. Scary, don't go like this. Please. It's all a mistake.
Good night, Mr. Gow.
Victoria, Harris, get these dogs out of here.
Father, what can't you trip over that poodle?
Going to the dogs, that's what he was talking about.
Who was talking about it?
Burton, that reporter, he arranged all this. Vicky, get my lawyer on the phone, will you?
Your lawyer, what for? What are you going to do?
I'm going to have that Burton arrested. Oh, no. I'll charge him with mayhem, disorderly conduct, breach of the peace, slander, assault, defamation.
The tempest over Patsy begins to gather force as thunderheads as threatening as the mayor's purple countenance roll up on the horizon of Act 3 just ahead of us. In the calm before the storm, we'll turn to the peaceful, persuasive accents of Kenneth Banghart, spokesman here for the Ford Motor Company. Kenneth has a particularly important announcement for your attention today. Ken?
This week, you'll be able to see for the first time the new 1948 models of a famous Ford product. This Friday, Ford dealers all over the country will have on display the new 1948 Ford trucks. Very soon now, you'll be seeing them on the road. And whether or not you buy or operate trucks, you'll be interested in the new 48 Ford trucks because they will have new beauty and power, and because they will serve you better. Life insurance experts have proven that Ford trucks last up to 19 6/10% longer. That is their record of past performance. But these 48 models are designed to be even better. The new Ford trucks will embody to a new degree the engineering principles that assure even longer life. They will be bonus built. According to Webster, bonus is something given in addition to what's usual or strictly due. And that's what bonus built means. The new 48 Ford trucks are designed and built with a bonus of extra strength in every vital part. This extra strength means work reserves in 48 Ford trucks. They will have a greater range of use, an ability to handle extra heavy loads. And bonus built also means that the new 48 Fords will do their jobs more easily, with less strain and wear. They will last longer because they are built stronger and work easier. You are served by trucks every day in 1,000 different ways. You will be served better and more economically because trucks are built better by Ford, the company that has built more trucks than any other. Watch for the new 48 Ford truck, built stronger to last longer. Bonus built by Ford.
As the final act of Storm in a Teacup begins, our hero, Frank Burton, has joined Patsy in municipal custody. On a warrant drawn up by Mayor Gow, an outraged person, he's been arrested and tossed into the clink for all the crimes the mayor could find under the general heading of libel and slander. While he languished in durance vile, however, the Patsy case has been crowding politics and inflation off the front pages of the land. The storm has grown to nationwide proportions, and a great wind is sweeping across the world. A few voices out of the rising chorus.
Let's see. Butter, pot cheese, cornflakes. Oh, yes, and let me have a can of dog food.
I'm all out of it, Mrs. Pitney. Since when have you got a dog?
I haven't, but I wanted to send a can of food to Patsy. You know, that little dog out in Plainsfield.
Why do you think I got no dog food left in stock? Everybody in town's been sending dog food to that food.
Of the Ladies' League for the Protection of Precious Pets, I move that we dispense with our annual boat ride and picnic and donate the money to the aid of Mr. Burton, the defendant in the Patsy case. After all, we must remember our motto: a dog, cat, goldfish, canary, or other pet is man's best friend.
Members of the Friends of the Feathered, the Four-Footed, and the Furry. I understand that the members of the Ladies' League for the Protection of Precious Pets have volunteered funds for the defense of the Patsy case. We who are friends of the feathered, the four-footed, and the furry cannot permit a smaller organization such as the Ladies' League for the Protection of Precious Pets to outdo us. So let our answer be that the FFFF will double the donation made by the Ladies' League for the Protection of Precious Pets. All in favor say aye.
There's good news tonight. The continent of Europe is a seething cauldron of distrust and animosities. But here at home, there's a bright ray of sunshine. Yes, a reporter in the little town of Plainsfield has taught us that simple honesty and American courage burns as bright as ever. And the you man who...
The chair recognizes the distinguished senator from the South.
Somebody, I say somebody, has been behaving like a hound dog. We gotta get together here and take care of Patsy. Patsy, that is.
We are speaking to you now from the Luxembourg Palace in Paris, where the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Big Four Powers has been hurriedly called together in special session. Sir Fosdick Algernon on Tewkesbury, representing Britain, has the floor.
On instructions from His Majesty's government, I wish to go on record as casting an affirmative vote for the measure at hand in re the dog Patsy. The British people is on the side of the underdog, and as a matter of fact, on the side of all dogs generally, wherever they may be found, more or less. Thank you.
Si le cher Patsy continue d'être la victime de l'infâme Mergot, le gouvernement français a l'intention d'inviter M. Frank Burton et Mme Honorée Égarté à devenir citoyens de la République française. Vive le pauvre petit chien de Mme Égarté! Vive Patsy!
And vive la France! Gentlemen, the people of the United States, whom I represent, look to us assembled here to take positive, immediate, and unequivocating action in the case of Patsy. I address the representative of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Shall we make our decision unanimous?
For this one time, positively yes. Hurrah для собаки в Patsy!
Burton, as long as I've been a reporter, I've never seen anything like it. Everybody's talking about the case. While you've been cooped up in this 2x4 jail, you've become a national celebrity.
Oh, well, thanks for telling me. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to get a little sleep. And don't slam the door of the cell on your way out.
Oh, Mr. Burton, I'm terribly sorry to find you with this miserable cell, but you'll be out in no time. My name is Watkins, National President of the Feathered, the Four-Footed, and the Furry.
National President of what?
The FFFF. And we have collected enough money to provide you with an excellent lawyer at your trial.
I don't need your help, little man. When I want to become a publicity stunt for your Federation of Feudal Fatheads, I'll let you know.
Hey, what are you talking about, Chum? This guy's outfit wants to go to bat for you.
It can go to... Look, what started out as a perfectly honest personal issue has become a national entertainment. I don't care whether I win the case or not. I've lost my job, I've lost my future, and I've lost my... Oh, will both of you please get out?
Oh, I quite understand how you feel, Mr. Burton, upset and nervous and all that. But the Friends of the Feathered, Four-Footed, and Furry is going to defend you, whether you like it or not. This, Mr. Burton, is a flaming cause. Good day, sir. I'll see you in court tomorrow.
Proceed with the case of Gow versus Burton. You are the attorney for the defendant?
I am, Your Honor.
The defendant, Frank Burton, is charged with violation of Section 4 of the Corrupt and Illegal Practices Act of 1878.
Your Honor, I wasn't even born then.
Quiet. Do you understand the charge, Mr. Burton?
I think so.
How do you plead?
Does it make any difference?
My client pleads not guilty, Your Honor.
Call the first witness.
Will Charles Logan take the stand?
I'm Charlie Logan.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Logan, you are a compositor working for the Plainsfield Herald?
I am.
That is, you set up in print the matter appearing in the paper?
I do.
On the night in question, you were given by the defendant an article to set up?
I was.
Was the defendant the author of the article?
I was.
Silence.
Mr. Burton, how dare you?
I was only trying to save time, Mr. Menzies.
When I defend a case, I expect my client to behave himself.
I didn't ask you. I wanted to defend myself.
Really?
Leave him to me, Mr. Menzies. Mr. Burton, you must not interrupt the hearing. Go on, Mr. Menzies.
The witness may step down. I now wish to call Mrs. Honoria Haggerty.
Oh, hello there, Mr. Burton.
Hello, Mrs. Haggerty. You look mighty stylish today.
Don't I, though? Oh, I've been buying myself clothes like a daft one. What with everybody contributing donations for the defense of Patsy. But the publicity's told so on the nerves of him that I've had to put him in a nursing home to have a rescuer, and he's going to...
Stop that chatter, Mrs. Haggerty. You've been called as a witness.
Oh, I know, Your Honor. But it's only polite to say a word to this poor, unfortunate man, who's the best friend I ever had, who stands up for others, the widow and the orphan, the poor and the needless.
Mrs. Haggerty, you are showing contempt for the court.
Oh, it's plenty of contempt I have, Your Honor.
What?
I mean for the case, of course, not for you personally. Well, now, young felon, what do you want?
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Well, I like that. Do you think I'd be coming here to tell lies?
Answer yes or no.
All right, yes.
Counsel for the defendant may proceed.
Mrs. Haggerty, exactly what happened on the day of August 18th, 1947?
Well, now, it was on that morning that I went to see Mayor Gow, the stiff-necked, flat-faced ape that he is.
You must not express animus toward the plaintiff, Mrs. Haggerty.
Now, is that what I did?
As a writer, I think that Mrs. Haggerty's powers of description are excellent.
Mr. Burton, you'll have to be silent when another witness is on the stand. We apologize, Your Honor.
Whose side are you on, anyway?
I'm trying to help your case, Mr. Burton. Thousands of dollars have been contributed for your defense.
We all know where the money is going, Mr. Menzies, don't we?
Order, order. This exchange between counsel and defendant is outrageous. Mr. Menzies, can't you control your client?
You told me to leave him to you, Your Honor.
Don't be impertinent, Mr. Menzies. The next person to laugh will be turned out of court. Mr. Burton.
Excuse me. Go on with your story, Mrs. Haggerty.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Burton. It's a fine writer you are. And that article of yours was a great comfort to me. You know, I've had it framed and hung on the wall between a picture of President Truman and a colored enlargement of the late Mr. Haggerty that was, God rest his soul.
Mrs. Haggerty, you're on the witness stand.
Well, it's the truth I'm telling. It is hanging on my wall between a picture of President
Mr. Menzies,
Truman
if you do not get on with your case, I shall...
Your Honor, there's nothing I can do.
You could go home, Mr. Menzies.
Are you telling me?
Yes, and I'll even help you pack up your papers.
But, Mr. Burton...
Nice to have had you with us, old man. Your Honor, my attorney is withdrawn. From this point on, I will handle my case myself. Mr. Watkins, will you kindly stop trailing me around the lobby?
But, Mr. Burton, the FFFF is passionately interested in your case.
Your organization is a collection of nitwits. Now go away. There's someone over there I want to talk to.
Well, I must say, you are the most stubborn young man I have ever...
Well, fancy meeting you here, Miss Gow.
We meet in the strangest places, Mr. Burton.
You've come to see me hang?
Oh, Frank, why have you been acting so childish in the courtroom? You seem determined to throw away your own case.
My own case to do exactly what I like with. As to what happens to me, nobody but myself gives two hearty hoots.
Don't be so sure of that.
You mean you do?
Of course I do. That's why I don't like to see you make a fool of yourself in court.
It doesn't matter. I'm as good as convicted right now, and you know it. Your father would never have pressed charges if he weren't absolutely sure of himself.
Isn't there anything to be said in your favor?
Not that I can think of. I wrote the article. I can't deny that. Now it's simply a matter of your father proving that it brought him anguish, damaged his reputation, and all the rest of that stuff he cooked up.
Can he prove it?
If he has enough witnesses, and I'm sure he has. His campaign manager, the publisher of the Herald, and plenty of other stooges, they'll all swear that my article wrecked his life.
Frank, if I can...
Mr. Burton, you can't talk to a witness for the prosecution.
Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I didn't know you were going to be a witness, Vicky.
Yes, I am. You see,
That was pretty clever of you, trying to find out what defense I had, if any.
Frank, I had no such thought.
After Papa parades all his other witnesses, daughter Vicky will step up and nail the lid on my coffin.
Don't say things like that. I couldn't help being called as a witness. I'm his daughter.
Oh, I understand. But now I've got some news for you. I was pretty deliberately throwing away my case before. Now, Miss Gow, I'm going back into that courtroom and fight.
Burton deliberately set out to persecute me.
Mr. Burton, do you wish to cross-examine?
I should say I do. Mr. Gow, as mayor of the city of Plainsfield, you are also its chief magistrate?
I am.
In the matter of Mrs. Haggerty and her dog, Patsy, you could have, if you wished, helped her by setting aside her fine until such time as she saved up enough money to pay it.
When a woman breaks the law, I refuse to help her go on breaking it.
Is it true that you might have helped the poor woman by paying the fine yourself?
She didn't really need my assistance. As for being a poor woman, judging from the way she's all dressed up today, she seems to have done very well for herself.
Oh, very insolent of her, Mr. Gow. But Mrs. Haggerty did need help.
Mr. Burton, if I happen to be distressed by a leaky water pipe, let us say, I don't take my problem to Washington. I go to a plumber, in a manner of speaking.
Well, in a manner of speaking, Mrs. Haggerty probably thought you were the plumber.
Mr. Burton, I ought to warn you that this sort of thing is impressing me very unfavorably.
I'm just trying to get at the truth. Why can't he be a man instead of a canting humbug? Why does he go sneaking around persecuting widows and little mongrel dogs? He's even dragged his daughter into the case as a witness for the prosecution.
I am
not. You have been called as a witness, Miss Gow. Do you refuse to testify?
I do.
On what grounds?
I can't testify against Mr. Burton.
Why not?
Because Mr. Burton and I are husband and wife.
Now, Vicky, let's be calm. This is the last recess the judge will give us. We're all alone here in his chambers. No one can hear us. So let's go over this quietly. Did you say you and this man are married?
Temper, Mr. Gow, temper.
I can't have a son-in-law serving 6 months. What do you mean by marrying my daughter?
I haven't.
When on earth did... You're not married?
Not that I know of.
Vicky, then why did you say you were?
To stop you and to save you. To save you both from your stupid pride.
Oh, but Vicky, they can have you for contempt. Oh, for good Lord, it's worse than that. It's perjury. They can send you to jail for this.
Yes, they can jail me for perjury if you insist on continuing the trial.
I won't stop the case. I can't stop it.
Of course you can. Just drop it.
Oh, but Vicky...
Otherwise, they can prove that I perjured myself. Well, that won't be very nice for you, will it?
Yes. Yes, I think we'd better get back to the courtroom. Briefly, Your Honor, the statement I wish to make is this. In my considered opinion, Mr. Burton was perfectly justified in writing that article about me.
Hooray for Mayor Gow!
Go on, Mr. Gow.
I realize now that a man in public life is very apt to get above himself. And Mr. Burton has brought me down to earth. In the case of Mrs. Haggerty and her dog, Patsy, I forgot to apply one of the great guiding principles of my life. And that is, every unit of the state is a living, breathing soul. Yes, a living, breathing soul, each with rights that are justly his. In these days, a leader must have that sixth sense. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, to you who have gathered at this town hall to support me in my campaign for governor, I say that a leader must have that sixth sense that enables him to see into the hearts of his constituents. He must stand by the little man at all times. And if I am elected by your votes...
Vicky.
Yes,
Mrs. Burton.
Yes, Mr. Burton.
You know, that father of yours is going to get himself elected governor.
Shh. I want to hear the speech Father's making.
No, those speeches. Vicky, as soon as your father is elected governor, let's do something.
What?
Let's move to another state.
Patsy, by the way, also lived happily ever after, refusing all movie offers in order to remain in residence with Mrs. Honoria Hegarty over the butcher shop. Mrs. Hegarty was played today by Adelaide Klein. A prominent radio character actress for the past 16 years, Miss Klein has played everything from comedy show Stooges to Dowager Queen Mary before the microphone. You may have seen her on Broadway in Uncle Harry or overseas in Blythe Spirit. And you may well see her soon in her first motion picture, Naked City. Frank Burton was played by Les Tremaine, one of radio's busiest performers, currently playing the title role on The Falcon, acting as master of ceremonies on the Reader's Digest show, and announcing the Drew Pearson News Period. Mayor Gow was Wendell Holmes, whose memorable performance as Mr. Peters in A Coffin for Demetrius was one of the highlights of the Ford Theater of 1947. Next week, the Ford Theater presents its second musical production, Girl Crazy, with a great wealth of famous tunes by George Gershwin. First produced in 1930, Girl Crazy brought fame to Ginger Rogers and Ethel Merman, and added I Got Rhythm to the list of all-time Gershwin hits.
Storm in a Teacup was adapted for radio by Will Glickman, edited by Howard Teichman, with continuity by George Faulkner. The music was composed and conducted by Lynn Murray. The entire production was under the direction of George Zachery. Others appearing on today's broadcast were Brad Barker, Jackson Beck, Frank Behrens, Sanford Bickert, Jeffrey Bryant, Art Carney, Eva Condon, Carl Eastman, Arthur Cole, Gene Leonard, Daniel Ocko, Ted Osborne, Amzie Strickland, and Carl Swenson. The Ford Theater is presented by the Ford Motor Company, makers of Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln cars, and Ford trucks, tractors, and motor coaches.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.